Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Springs MAC meeting on November 24th. We're all very grateful that you're here this evening with us. Hay traducción disponible. Hay un icono en la esquina a la parte a la derecha, ¿verdad? Si necesitan interpretación, está disponible. Jordi está aquí para ayudarles. So, I'll do the roll call and we'll do the pledge. Vice Chair Willett.
Here.
Councilmember Goldman.
Here.
Councilmember Lely.
Here.
Councilmember Lombard.
Here.
Councilmember Conlon.
Here.
Councilmember Wheatley.
Here.
And Councilmember Reyes. Thank you. So we'll do the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We need to approve the minutes of the October 27th meeting. Are there any?
I move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
So Conlon first, and I don't remember, Goldman second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda?
For those members of the public who wish to make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature on your screen. If you called in, please dial *9 and you will be allowed to speak. And please state your name for the record. Would you like to set a timer? At this time, I only see one raised hand, Chair Iturri.
Sure, we'll do a 3-minute limit.
Do I go?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Kate Ortolano and I'm a co-founder of Artscape. And I was asked just to quickly just give an update to the MAC about the decorations and the holiday spirit in the Springs. Should I just tell you what we've done? I had my beer. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so what we've done is that Artscape created, we had quite a few conversations with Karina and Mari Cameron. We created a flyer that we distributed to all of the businesses in the Springs corridor, asking for their participation in the holiday spirit. So in the form of decorating the storefronts. So that's totally left up to them. We at Artscape is the fiscal, I don't know, you needed us. So we're the fiscal, what do we call Artscape in this? Well, like your
sponsor.
Yeah, sponsor, thank you. And and then we have been allocated $1,000 and we will be in charge of decorating the fenced area near Armando's, where the proposed park should be, or pocket park, whatever that's going to be eventually. So we have a plan on Monday morning between 11 and 1 to put up garland and ornaments and lights, just as like the gateway to this. And Karina name was listed on there if anybody had any particular questions, and Artscape was listed as any creative questions, such as, what colors booze, I don't know, whatever people want. But anyhow, we're on board and we're happy to do this. And if anybody has any questions, please ask away. Otherwise, then I'm going to go and make my dinner. Questions?
Thank you, Kate. We actually can't ask you any questions. We can only
Oh.
receive the information.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to just say that this is a great opportunity for MAC to be recognized, even though you're not on the flyer per se. But I think a lot of the businesses and people that I've spoken to in the Springs are still not quite sure or even know that there is this governing oversight committee. And so I think it's great. And my suggestion is that next year, that this whole process doesn't start 2 weeks before decoration time, that it starts like in September, and possibly get permission from CalTrans to maybe put some wreaths or things up on those beautiful light posts all the way down the Springs. So that's it, guys. All right. And thank you so much for inviting us to participate.
Thank you, Kate.
Okay, Maite, good to see you.
Nice to hear you.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye. All righty. Any other public comment on items that are not on the agenda at this time?
I don't see, actually one more raised hand. Here we go, Tobias. You should see an unmute prompt on your end. You can go ahead, make your comment.
Great. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Can everybody? Okay, great. My name is Tobias Weir from the State Council on Developmental Disabilities from the North Bay office, which covers Solano, Napa, and Sonoma County. And we are involved right now in handing out PPEs across the region for people that are in need. But also I have to report because I'm on a lot of the different committees on the various school systems in the various all three of the counties that we go to in the community advisory committees. And I'm getting a lot of feedback that a certain segment of our population just aren't really getting what they need over the Zoom meetings that we're having right now, especially those involved in the school system. So I just wanted to offer some resources we have on our website, the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, for people that are going through possible isolation issues during this COVID-19 pandemic. And so if there's a way for me to be able to give the information out, I'd be happy to do that, but also just to let people know that they can use our website as a resource, because during this pandemic, the State Council has been put on action to provide PPEs to all three counties, but also throughout the whole state. We're working with the Department of Emergency Services, California Department of Emergency Services, and we're doing that. We've been doing that through the whole pandemic, and we'll continue to do that. So if people are interested in and are in need of some of the equipment, they can contact us through our website, and also through some of the events. We'll have flyers that we give out on our Facebook page, but also our main website too. So if I can give that out, that'd be great. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
He still has a minute, Tobias, if you would like to give out the website.
Okay, is there a way to put that onto the chat?
And it's disabled, but you can always email me. You can go on the county page and find my email, or it's Karina.Garcia@sonoma-county-.org.
Okay, I'll send you the information. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tobias. Any other public comment?
I don't see any more raised hands, but I didn't say the invitation in Spanish. Para los miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario público, pueden usar la aplicación de levantar la mano en su computadora, o pueden oprimir estrella 9 si llamaron para hacer un comentario público. I don't see any raised hands.
Thank you. Item number 4, we have to, last month, in our excitement to restructure our ad hocs, I forgot to call for a vote on the emergency preparedness ad hoc. So we need to clean that up and do that now. Can I get a motion to continue with the emergency preparedness ad hoc committee with Mari Carmen and Iris?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Thank you,
Do we
Ray.
need to say
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ryan. All in favor?
aye?
Aye.
All right, great. Thank you all very much. So I just want to give a little update, and then we'll have Supervisor Gorin is here with us. So she'll give us a little bit of information, and then we'll move into the meat of the agenda. So tonight we're going to hear about community resources available to people who have tested positive for COVID or have had to quarantine or isolate. Also, we'll hear about some financial assistance and testing resources. We also have some food resources through Redwood Food Bank, and then Food for All as well. So tonight's an opportunity to hear about what's available to us in this community. And then it's really important that we as a group push that information out as much as possible so people can get it and understand what's available to them. Also, we have a job description finalized, and it's posted for our Map Your Neighborhood outreach workers. So we're very excited about that. It's posted through the Sonoma Ecology Center. It'll be up for a couple of weeks, and then we'll review resumes and put somebody in place to help out Mari Carmen and Iris as we start to organize these block captains. So it's very exciting. Thank you to Iris and Mari Carmen for all their work. The annual report is still a work in progress. Promise we'll get it to you soon. But it is not complete yet. Also, we're going to have a Springs update from Ryan and Karina. And I also just want to mention before we have Ryan give his report that Ryan has some news to share with us tonight. And I want to make sure that we give him the space to do that. And I'll turn it over to Ryan and Karina. And Karina will also go over the budget and traffic update. And thank you all very much again for being here. Short and sweet tonight. So Ryan, take it away.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll start with the Springs update or the Sbcac update. Our last meeting, we did talk, bulk of the meeting was about the winery working group, and they're looking at winery events and getting that policy document finalized to be accepted by the Board of Supervisors. I had to recuse myself from that part of the meeting as I had a financial conflict, as my job title is events manager for 3 different wineries. So I was not part of that agenda item. But previous to that, we did hear Donham Winery looking at putting up a new structure that will also serve as outdoor space for their tastings. And we called a special meeting, which will be December 2nd, which will be pertinent to Springs residents, which let me pull up the agenda really quick here. So we will be looking at rezoning sites for housing projects, which will just be an informational item. And then we'll be looking at the milestone housing group, which is the 92 unit affordable senior housing development in the Springs. And this will be a design review, and we will hear that on this coming December 2nd. So that's all from Springs updates. And personal updates. I submitted my resignation today for the MAC, and that will become effective on February 1st. So I felt like it was time to move on and focus on other things in my life, but it's been amazing being part of this process and working with all of you guys to create something out of nothing, if you will, a lot of stuff out of a blank slate. So so that's the announcement that I have for this evening, is that as of January will be my last meeting with the group.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for laying the foundation for all this work and leading us to, pioneer a path that none of us had walked before. So thank you very, very much. And we'll say more about you in January. So.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Karina, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I do. I have some updates received from Permit Sonoma on the following projects. Siesta Project, also known as Spring Senior Housing Project. As of November 23rd, mobile home park closure approved contingent on providing affordable housing. Senior Housing Project has been to design review as a concept item and Sbcac and received general support. The applicant is working on community outreach and hosted a neighborhood meeting on November 5th. The applicants have recently provided revised site plans and drawings, which are on referral. The referral package is accessible online via the following link. The link is pretty long and it will be included in the minutes for those members of the public who wish to have access to it, and council members will receive a copy of this as well. The applicants need to provide a traffic impact study to be reviewed by local and state transportation departments. The project will be scheduled for design review committee consideration when project design and environmental concerns are addressed. The next project is the spring specific plan. Again, updates as of November 23rd. The spring specific plan is currently moving through the environmental review process, and staff is working toward completion of the draft environmental impact report. Now that the state has moved away from level of service as a CEQA issue, the county is now required to do an analysis of vehicle miles traveled. With grant funding secured from the state local early action planning grant, the county is engaging a traffic consultant to assist with the completion of this VMT analysis. The public release of the DEIR is anticipated in late winter. Next is the SDC specific plan as of November 23rd, 225 plus person turnout for November 14th community workshop. Permit Sonoma staff working on a board workshop scheduled for January 2021. Consultant is doing a series of small group informational interviews to complement more widespread community engagement workshops. The Domino's, no update from last month. Boys Food Center as of November 23rd. On November 17th, the Board of Supervisors held a public hearing and unanimously approved the project. Next, the applicants will prepare more detailed architectural drawings for review through a public design review process before construction can begin on the first phase of the project. Mid-Penn Housing as of November 23rd. Anticipate Planning Commission in February 2021. Technical study comments with the applicant and awaiting response. Boys Boulevard Bridge, sorry. As of November 23rd, year one construction complete on time and expected to complete December 2021. That is my update for the Springs. Next update is on the CalTrans Highway 12 West Thompson traffic light. Email received October 28th. Let's see. Traffic safety responded saying they will be installing a short cycle lagging face left turn on this location. The cost is expected to be fairly low, which means the project can happen more quickly, and we're waiting for more details. So that's actually a huge gain. Those are my updates for today.
Thank you, Karina. Okay. Supervisor Gorin, do you have anything to share with us this evening? You're on mute.
You would think that I would know to unmute myself, but I don't yet. Thanks everybody for joining the MAC meeting tonight. And I know that this is Thanksgiving week, and I want to wish you all a really wonderful, safe Thanksgiving, I wish I could say that I was in Colorado with my grandchildren enjoying Thanksgiving, which I intended to do, but alas, I'm here actually right outside the, the Sonoma City Hall. Well, maybe not, just virtually. Just a couple of things. We asked the state for adjudication to move us from the purple tier to the red tier, maybe a few weeks too late, because indeed we did qualify to move to the red tier, but then everything came to a grinding halt in the state of California, as you've probably read. 41 states have moved down to the purple tier, again, the most restrictive tier. And things are buttoning up everywhere. But we just sent a press release out today codifying design guidelines for outdoor eating, and with the heaters. And I really want to thank Kathy Capriola for taking charge of this and working through a lot of the details. And I believe she sent it around to lots of different people, working with the director, Tennis Wick, who worked with, of course, our fire chief, James Williams, on the fire safety of that. And I wish we were able to eat indoors, and I have confidence that the new year, we will be lining up for the vaccine and moving on to a safer, healthier new year. I'm a little low energy today because, boy, I did a great tour of Hood Mountain Regional Park, and you would never know it by looking at the front of it, but the rear of it is just depressingly burned. Every single tree, every blade of grass, just have skeleton trees all up and down in behind Hood Mountain. The little knob at the top still has a fringe of green, and so we hiked up there and down to Gunsight Rock. So they hope to open up Hood Mountain Regional Park maybe in the spring. They want to see how well it's going to stand up to the winter. We're hoping for rain. Could we just let some rain happen, but not too much rain, because otherwise we may see some road collapse on Los Alamos Road and some of the trails at Hood Mountain. I also hiked through the Saddle Mountain Open Space District, also appreciably burned, not quite as severely as Hood Mountain. And Hood Mountain was direct hit now twice with the two fires, one 3 years ago, and then this year, probably 100% burned. Still have some trees and some recovery already happening. As I mentioned before, a lot of big trees are coming down now. And the Azalea campground is pretty desolate. You may not want to go backpacking there for a while. And it will come back. It will recover, as our landscape does. And I think the board is now trying to figure out what the strategy would be going forward, because we see the prevailing winds, especially the firestorms, coming from Napa over the Mayacamas to various areas of Sonoma County. And what should we be doing from a vegetation management perspective to create permanent fire breaks and shaded fuel breaks? And I'm looking for grant funding to remove some of the buildings at the unused buildings on the Los Coast campus, and really take down some of the trees on the fringe of Hood Mountain to create a fuel break potentially from the park coming down into Los Coast, trying to save Oakmont and LG Village and Juvenile Hall from evacuations and damage once again. But we know that we've had a pattern of fires over Mayacamas Mountains for a long, long time, 50 years, and it's happening with more regularity. So we need to really think carefully about how we're moving forward with vegetation management. The good news is on December 8th, the list of fire damaged roads, or rather debris damaged roads, will be coming to the board for repaving out of the PG&E settlement funds. There are a number of roads in the, not necessarily in the Springs area, but certainly Cavedale, Trinity, Lovell Valley, Thornsburg, Thornsbury, and Lawndale, Schultz, Bristol, Bennett Ridge, a lot of the roads in the Mark West area and up in the mountains. So St. Helena Road and Porter Creek will be paved in the next couple of years. They're appreciably damaged by the debris trucks. And it's appropriate that we use that source of funding to do that, because those fires were demonstrated to be PG&E failure related. Sadly, the glass fire and the Wallbridge fire have not been, the determination has not been defined other than lightning. So I suspect we will not be able to get remuneration for those fires. But Kincaid fire was PG&E related, and we've initiated litigation to move towards a settlement with PG&E to repair some of the devastation and damage from the Kincaid fire. We seem to be losing more houses than we're building. We had over 5,600 homes, I believe, from the Nuns fire, and the Tubbs fire added to that about another 500 from the Wallbridge, 700 from the Wallbridge, Kincaid, and the glass fire. So I'm glad we're talking about developing and redeveloping Sonoma Developmental Center with housing, hopefully employment and services as well. And I hope that you are able to tune into the virtual community engagement process. It was not what we envisioned a number of months ago as part of a community conversation. The next step for that will be an opportunity to come before the Board of Supervisors to share with the supervisors the update of the planning. 3 alternatives will be identified and developed by the land use planning team, and EIR will be written to analyze the impacts of that. And I hope to create, I say that with crossed fingers, that maybe we can get a special meeting for the 2 municipal advisory councils to have an opportunity to chat about the Sonoma Developmental Center. This project is important for the entirety of the valley and not just Glen Ellen. But I hope to make that happen before it officially goes to the Citizens Advisory Committee as the first stage of the approval process sometime next year. So I'll end my comments. It is such an honor and a privilege to work with all of you who are so active in the COVID pandemic, distributing food, working on the Latinx task force on how we connect with businesses to keep our community members and employees safe. And we all would wish for a much better year, a much healthier year next year, when we can reopen our businesses and once again engage in person. So thank you all so much for what you do, and please have a safe and healthy Thanksgiving with your families, and hopefully not too many friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gorin. We appreciate your comments and you being here with us this evening. Is there any public comment on the updates?
Let's see, for any members of the public who wish to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature or dial *9. We will allow you to make your comment. Para los miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario público, por favor usen la aplicación de levantar mano en su pantalla o estrella 9 si es que llamaron. We have 1 raised hand so far. Would you like to set a timer on that, the same 3 minutes?
Please.
Okay. Fred, You can go ahead and make your comment and make sure you state your name for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Fred Allebach, and I don't really have a comment. I have a question for Supervisor Gorin if she's going to still be on the meeting. I was curious about the paving of the road, a lot of dead end roads. She mentioned Thornsbury, maybe Level Valley. There's Michael Road, Siesta Way. There's a lot of these kind of roads that go up into the foothills that are dead ends. And I was just curious about, is this a widening or is it a pavement improvement? Or I was just curious what that's all about. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
And I'll answer that after the other public comments.
Okay. I don't see any more raised hands.
Would you like to speak to that now, Supervisor Gorin, or would you like to hear from the council first?
Either, but let me just answer that. There is a reason why the roads were identified. These are the roads that were in the burn areas. They lost a lot of houses on those roads, and the debris cleanup trucks were very, very heavily loaded. So the fires took a toll on the pavement, but also primarily it was the debris cleanup trucks that really took a toll on the roads. We asked FEMA for reimbursement for repaving the roads, and they keep rejecting that reimbursement claim over and over, as they say that our network of roads were barely roads. Well, maybe there's some truth in that. But so that is why we identified the roads that we did. They were in the burn zones, Fred, and the rest of the roads will have to wait for our pavement, repaving, and overlay project lists that we do every 2 years.
Thank you, Supervisor Gorin. Council members, any comment on what you've heard with the updates?
I do have a question, actually. Susan, I was curious whether the counties of Napa and Sonoma are working together with any kind of, just maintenance, I guess, of that ridge.
You mean from a fire prevention, vegetation management?
Yes, exactly. Because as you said, it's coming over from the Napa area and every 50 years. So I was curious if the two counties would be working together on that.
We haven't initiated discussions yet, but we're just in we set a placeholder for vegetation management efforts of $25 million from the PG&E funds. We suspect that we would like to allocate more, and we are applying for grants to do more systemic vegetation management. But certainly that is what you suggest is entirely appropriate. How do we work with Napa on some vegetation management strategies? Because you're right, they do tend to come from that direction.
Thank you. Any other comments from council members? Avram?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank Karina. Thank you for that update. It's so informative, and I just feel we're kept up to date. So I really appreciate your efforts in presenting that to us. So thank you for that. It's sorely needed. Also, along the fire issue, I was wondering, Susan, if there isn't some conjunction with the public in terms of making houses more fire safe or areas around. We have lots of rural properties. I know for myself right now, I'm doing some more tree work around my house. And I was wondering if there's any kind of sort of government public program that's in the works to help people either identify what they can do or maybe even have some kind of government support in making properties more fire safe.
I held a number of vegetation management workshops where Conservation Corps and other groups were really identified. Fire Safe Sonoma, forming a Fire Safe Council will help because they really can help you identify the priorities for creating more safety and certainly evacuation routes from the areas. CAL FIRE does or can inspect properties, and they have certainly up in the Grove Street areas. And from those inspections, then there were some suggestions made. You can go on to the UC Cooperative Extension or Fire Safe Sonoma, and there are many presentations that can help homeowners decide how to create more defensible space around their houses, 5 to 10 to 30 feet, depending on how much room you have on your lot for sure. I've ripped out all of my juniper bushes and cut down a couple of trees that were close to my rental house. Obviously, the vegetation around the house that I lost, that's gone. So I have defensible space there at the moment. And Oakmont is actually moving forward in banning juniper bushes. So we're seeing a lot of landscaping companies come into the neighborhoods and remove truckloads of juniper bushes and branches. I would encourage all of you to rid your yards of juniper, rosemary, even though we love rosemary, it's very flammable. Even oleander is somewhat flammable, but it recovers nicely. Trees closer than 5 feet or overgrown shrubbery closer than 5 feet to your house. Only have gravel, low foundation plantings around your house. And even look a little bit further out than that. So there's a lot of great information, and I think as you work towards community preparedness, we can bring Roberta McIntyre or UC Cooperative Extension in to do a workshop with you for the community so that you can, and it's sad because you love your beautiful gorgeous vegetation around the houses and it kills you to have to cut it down, but that's the reality. You're looking for anything flammable close to your house.
Thank you for that information. The reason I asked, several years ago, I remember the state, the fire entity for the state, actually was charging, I think, homeowners like $110 to come out and look and give suggestions. And I don't know what happened with that program. I don't know if you know anything about it. I thought it was a good program. The fire marshals came out, they looked at the property, they made suggestions, and said, you're doing great, or you're not doing great, or this needs to be done. I just thought it was a useful program, and I don't know what happened with it.
Well, again, I would suggest that if this is of interest, in alignment with your work on community preparedness, that you have this as one of the topics and invite Steve Aker, our fire chief, out to first of all tell you what they do, because I don't think you've had an update from the fire agencies. And they are moving forward with some interesting things. One thing that I didn't talk about that you may have read about is that the Board of Supervisors today authorized to put an additional TOT tax on the ballot for a portion of the West County to support Bodega Bay and Sonoma Fire, as well as the schools, interestingly enough, over in the West County. And we'll see if it passes. It's going to be controversial, and it will be the highest TOT levied in the county and probably the North Bay. So it's interesting that they would include schools, but the point is, you should have an update on fire and the financing of fire services and what they provide, and especially in anticipation of the inspections that they do and the complaint-driven process for homeowners to cut down their excess vegetation in preparation for the summer.
Thank you. Any other comments before we move on to our next item? Okay. I made note of inviting the fire agencies in one of the upcoming meetings. So thank you, Supervisor Gorin. So our next topic, we have several guests with us here this evening. We have talked a lot about race in this, in the MAC, and had people come and talk to us about their experiences in the community. And there's no more devastating event taking place right now than COVID, particularly among the Latinx community. And we've invited several organizations to come and share with us what resources are available in testing and services and finance. So we have the Department of Health Services, County PIO, Gilbert Martinez, Sonoma Valley Community Health Center Director Cheryl Johnson. And from the CURA Project, we have Gabrielle Sanders. La Luz was invited and notified us today that they were not available to attend. So we won't be hearing from them. But we're really grateful to all of you who could make it here to share this important information with us and our community. And again, just a reminder that servicios de interpretación están disponibles. El icono de interpretación está a la parte derecha en la esquina si necesitan. Muchísimas gracias. So we just want to give some space and some time so we can understand what's available and what resources are out there to support our community. And we know what the numbers are, and we know what they are in the Latino community. So we want to make a difference. So we'll start with Gilbert.
I actually think, can you hear me? I actually think I'm going to start. I think Gilbert and I agreed, this is Nora, that I would start to kick it off.
Oh, okay, Nora, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry, I didn't introduce you. I'm sorry, I was reading from a list. So Nora is
no problem
from the Sonoma County Health Department. So thank you, my apologies.
Oh, no problem. So thank you for having me this evening. My name is Nora Maloney-Brand with the Department of Health Services. My normal role is managing our health policy planning and evaluation unit within the health department. Since COVID, one of my responsibilities in our response has been as primary staff from the department on our Latinx health work group, which I will say more about. So I'm going to give a little bit of an overview of where we are. I think you probably know some of this, and I'm going to share my screen if that's okay. Can everyone see that? Okay. Oh, there we go. So as Supervisor Gorin mentioned, just to give a kind of a foundation of where we are, right? So we all know that California is experiencing a huge surge in cases in alignment with the country, in alignment with the globe, right? So last week, Governor Newsom pulled the emergency brake. And so in terms of where we are in moving through the tiers, all of that work was put on hold, as Supervisor Gorin already mentioned. We were held in purple. Some counties were pushed back into purple. The goal here is really obviously keeping people safe, right? Mitigating and reducing our exposure and preserving our healthcare capacity. So this just gives you a visual of the state. A week or two ago, this was a much more colorful map, and we had a lot more orange and even some yellow, and the state fairly universally has been pushed back into purple. But where Sonoma County is, so our tier rating, and you may know all of this, so I'll be brief, but our tier rating is based on 3 primary data points. Our adjusted case rate, which is the case rate per 100,000 people in the county, and we're at 15. The threshold for moving into the next tier is 7 or 8, so we're significantly above that. The second data point is our testing positivity, so our overall testing positivity across the county. We're at 4.3, so we're actually in the orange, or would be in the orange if it weren't for the surge that we're experiencing. And then in September, the state added a health equity metric to this tier system. And this is looking at the lowest quartile of the Healthy Places Index census tract. So let me say a little bit about that. So the Healthy Places Index looks at 25 indicators at the census tract level, looking at the community conditions that predict life expectancy. So economic stability, education, neighborhood, and built environment. And each census tract is assigned a score. And in order to move tiers, one of the things that we have to look at now is those census tracts that are below the 25% or the bottom quartile. So the goal here is really to make sure that counties aren't masking deep disparities and inequities, right, by having overall metrics that look positive, right? We want to make sure that we're diving deep into the most vulnerable communities and making sure that they're not overlooked and that we're not moving too quickly in our reopening to further kind of expose and risk their health. So what is, and I have a twin who has been very polite all of this whole time while we've been sitting here, and now he's banging on the door saying, "Mama." So I'll do my best to concentrate here. What is the HPI, the census tract look for Sonoma County? So you can get a sense of where these census tracts are. So a lot concentrated here in the central part of the county in Santa Rosa, a little bit up north, and then this tiny census tract here is the Springs. So this probably doesn't surprise you. One thing I just want to note is that, this isn't perfect, right? I think we all can imagine that there are many census tracts here where there is more inequity than is being identified through this metric. We're a county, that has wealthy, wine industry folks living in the same census tract as the workers who work on those farms and at those wineries. So it isn't perfect. We are, probably many folks in this group could identify other pockets that aren't showing up here, but I think it's a really good start in terms of looking at this work with an equity lens and really making sure that counties aren't moving so quickly that they're leaving people behind. So I had slides about kind of how the equity measure impacts tiers, but to be honest, it's not impacting tiers right now because nobody's moving through tiers, so I might not go through those. All of this is on our website on SoCo Emergency, gives a little bit of an explanation. So is COVID-19 harming some parts of the community more than others? I think we all know the answer here is yes. This is true locally, this is true nationally. I think that, again, the point that I just want to hit home is that counties must address COVID-19 in all communities to open further, making sure that our positivity rate is at a manageable level in those vulnerable communities. So just where we are, again, this is just another map from our SoCo Emergency website. This is by census tract, so it gives you a slightly different view. But this is a heat map of our cases. So you can see, and if I kind of overlaid those Healthy Place Index map with this heat map, you would see, right? You have a darker spot up here in Cloverdale. You have a darker spot here in central Santa Rosa, the central part of the county. And then you have a darker spot here in the Sonoma area. And again, I think you are all aware, but our Latinx community has been hardest hit by the disease. And by hardest hit, I mean both most cases, but also feeling the greatest impact of having to quarantine and isolate. And I'll speak more about that. But currently, the Latinx community makes up 71% of the cases in the county, while they only make up 27% of our population. At its highest, the Latinx community made up over 90% of the cases of the county. The other thing I just want to point out is that we have over 2,300 cases of unknown race or ethnicity. And so you can imagine that if we had this information, and this is just individuals who didn't want to share, that we might see a further skew in that direction. We just aren't sure. So, and it sounds like I'm glad to hear that you've had some of these conversations already. So hopefully this isn't new to you, but why the inequity? It's really because the barriers to mitigation are felt most strongly by our Latinx community. And this is because of systemic longstanding inequities that make them more vulnerable. And this includes institutionalized racism, the fact that they're more likely to be essential workers, the high cost of housing, the lack of access to sick pay and unemployment for many in the Latinx community. Undocumented workers, for example, don't have access to unemployment. Many other sectors until recently haven't had access to sick pay. And even legally having access to sick pay doesn't necessarily mean you work in an industry or for an employer who will honor that. So, and it sounds like I'm glad to hear that you've had some of these conversations already. So hopefully this isn't new to you, but why the inequity? It's really because the barriers to mitigation are felt most strongly by our Latinx community. And this is because of systemic longstanding inequities that make them more vulnerable. And this includes institutionalized racism, the fact that they're more likely to be essential workers, the high cost of housing, the lack of access to sick pay and unemployment for many in the Latinx community. And if you don't have the power or the resources to navigate, right, that's a really challenging dynamic. And then lack of access to healthcare. These are just some of the things that make quarantining and isolating, staying home, or even reducing your exposure, right? Somebody who has to be out there working every day, somebody who might have to share transportation, somebody who lives in congregate housing, for example, is going to be much more at risk of being exposed than somebody who is, like my parents, retired and able to stay home. So I just wanted to say that, and I don't know if it's come up here, I know Mari Kamran is one of our founding members, but in May, when I think we were first becoming aware of the extent of the disparity, the Department of Health Services convened a Latinx health work group, and it's a group of community members, so individuals, grass tops folks across sectors, representing all geographies across the county, with a connection to the Latinx community who were doing this work in response to COVID, coming together weekly to inform and direct the department's efforts specific to the Latinx community. So really, the department recognized a blind spot for us. We didn't have in-house enough expertise to really be targeting and developing culturally appropriate strategies for the Latinx community. And so we meet weekly with the work group to look at all aspects of our response. So, we have looked at how we disaggregate data, our testing strategies, where we're testing, how we make the alternate care site more accessible, et cetera. Today, for example, we had a convening around what our vaccine administration strategy will look like and how we do that with an equity lens. So in September, as part of this new health equity metric, the state asked, so in addition to looking at these metrics and those metrics helping to determine moving through tiers, counties needed to develop a resource plan. So how were we actually resourcing and supporting strategies within these vulnerable census tracts? And the county established 6 strategies, and I'm going to speak to a few of them, and then we have Gabrielle and Gilbert here to speak to 2 of them as well. Let me just move there we go. So the first is increased targeted testing. So we have been doing pop-up testing to target the Latinx community since the beginning. It's a way of, since the beginning, it is a strategy of disease control, is to find the places where you think people are most likely to have a disease and test there, right? That's true for tuberculosis, it's true for any communicable disease. And the Latinx population has been one of those places. So residential care facilities are another place, right? We do lots of extra testing there to catch as many cases as we can and stop the spread as quickly as possible. But in September, we increased that even more. So we increased our target pop-up testing, and we were aiming for over 300 tests a day. We are now, this is old, so I'll just say this is from a week or 2 ago, but our targeted pop-up testing increased from 143 to 335 tests a day. We have a rotating schedule of tests, if you're not aware of that. So the testing team goes to do 2 pop-ups 6 days a week, rotating throughout the county on a regular schedule. So on Mondays, it's in Boise Hot Springs at the Park and Ride. Those are by appointment, but they're also, they'll take walk-ups. I don't know if any of you have tried to get a test in the last week. They are packed with people trying to get tests before Thanksgiving. So strategy 2, Latinx enhanced outreach. So this is really in terms of how we are better outreaching and supporting the Latinx community. And Gabrielle is going to share more about the CURA Project. And I will just say that the CURA Project is, I'm really excited for you to hear about it if you haven't already. It was something that wasn't born out of the Latinx Health Work Group, but it was the Latinx Health Work Group that helped the department and the county hear about a lot of this work that was already happening in the community to provide culturally appropriate COVID services to the community, and helped kind of elevate the need and call out the gap that we had in the county. And all of that led to the county issuing an RFP to help support this work. So strategy 3, incentives and financial assistance. People can't stay home if they're not getting paid, right? If you don't have access to unemployment, if you don't have access to sick leave, it is very hard to stay home. So the county is now providing some direct cash aid that is in alignment with many other Bay Area counties who have focused some resources to provide those who don't otherwise qualify for financial assistance a little bit of a lifeline so that they can quarantine for the 2 weeks. It also includes incentives for testing. So if you get a test, you can get a gift card. Strategy 4, fostering partnerships with the business community. So our Economic Development Board has been engaged here, really trying to engage the business community around, how they protect their workers, what their role is around testing, how we can support them in testing workers regularly, especially in sectors with vulnerable populations or where their staff are, in close quarters. Strategy 5, isolation and quarantine support. So this is twofold. It's both offering an incentive. So we've had this alternate care site since the beginning. This is an option for folks who can't isolate at home. And just so everyone knows, maybe you know this at this point, but quarantining is what you do when you are, awaiting your results or when you've been exposed. Isolating is what you do when you have had a positive, when you are carrying the disease. It is very difficult to isolate, and isolate literally means, you don't leave your room, you don't share a bathroom with others in your household. It's very difficult for me to do in a house with children, right? Let alone in a home when you might be sharing it with another family. And then lastly, it's a more robust communications and education campaign that Gilbert will speak to. And then I just wanted to say a little bit about our contact tracing. So one of the things that the department and the county have been working on with the help of the Latinx Health Work Group is really trying to ensure a bilingual, bicultural workforce here. So this, it is a barrier to care if your contact tracer calls you and doesn't speak Spanish and you don't speak English, right? That causes a delay in your ability to get the information you need about isolation and quarantine, barrier and delay in terms of getting connected to other resources. So that's really a top priority. But just to give you a sense of the scope of the program. So again, this is probably a little bit old and things are moving so quickly now, but just to give you a sense, from a week or two ago, receives an average of 79 new cases and 63 new contacts per day. And their target is a 24-hour contact follow-up period. They have handled over 15,000 cases and contacts since the beginning. And so again, as of the 4th, so this might have increased a little bit, there were 78 staff members. So this includes case investigators and contact tracers. And case investigators are the ones that kind of do a more in-depth call with you if you are a positive case. So it's a really robust program. I'm happy to say a little bit more about it or invite folks back to speak more about it. They are really adapting to the changing environment and adapting to the populations that are being exposed and really thinking, the contact tracing is hard work because you are talking to people all day long about their challenges and things, and they're really doing a great job of capturing that information and kind of feeding it back into the system to make program improvements. So last but not least, I just wanted to remind everybody about the recommendations from the department about holiday gatherings and travel. So, really not recommending that people get together with folks outside of their households. If you have to do it outside, keep it short. Again, it's just the disease is on this upward trajectory, and the more we can do now. This is not like official advice of the department, but I was telling somebody the other day, we don't get credit for the work we've done so far as individuals, right? Like just because we've been wearing masks for the last 8 months doesn't mean we get a free pass for Thanksgiving. So we have to keep being vigilant, even though we know it's hard, but it's important work. So I will end it there. And then I don't know if you want to hear from Gilbert next or open it up to questions.
I was going to suggest that the council members keep track of their questions and we could take them at the end because we have a lot of people with information that is important and maybe some of it will get answered. Is that agreeable? Gilbert, thank you. And thank you, Nora, so much for all that information. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nora. You really covered a lot of information that I was going to pass as well. So we'll focus really on the communication aspect that we're working on. And that is a key focus on making sure that the messaging that we are using, one, is culturally appropriate for our targeted audience. And secondly, we want to make sure that it protects and ensures the protection of our essential workers in our Latinx community. So we're using a multifaceted multimedia package. We are going with traditional media, television, radio, which we currently already do. We have our Spanish PSA that runs weekly. We also have radio interviews that one of our colleagues, Sylvia, also participates in weekly. Additionally, we are looking to we're looking to get our paid television programming in starting next month. It'll explain a lot about the resources that Sonoma County as a whole offers to anyone who either needs to quarantine or needs to isolate. Again, there's a very clear distinction between the two. The other thing that we're working on as well are resource flyers that can be handed out at any pop-up event, at any of our booths that are needed. These resource flyers list all the resources available at Sonoma County that are both county-wide, city-wide, or our federal or statewide programming. They're all in early drafts and they should be ready relatively soon. But this will be an excellent resource for anyone, whether it's someone who's providing the resources for an individual or for someone who tests positive or has been exposed, can easily hand this flyer. It's easy just to attach to your fridge, have it up, and you can see all the resources that are available, whether it's food, financial assistance, rental and utility assistance, counseling services, mental health support, veteran services, anything that you could potentially think of that's in the county will be listed on these resources in an easy to read handout, one page. We really want to emphasize, again, just the large amount of resources that we have for our county residents, everyone who's here in our county, that we are worried about, your health and your personal, we're worried about you and want to make sure that if you're healthy, the county stays healthy. So that's why we're providing all these resources for you. For my understanding and for my actual participation in a lot of our pop-up testing sites, I've seen and I've noticed that there's a lot of individuals who are not necessarily afraid of the virus itself. They're more afraid of actually testing positive. So a lot of our messaging is to really reassure individuals that even if you do test positive, there's a lot of resources that we have available for you that are immediately available for you. So we definitely want to focus on that. Going forward, we still have other means of communication that we're still using, what has become typical media communication, your social media platforms, Facebook. We are looking through our YouTube channels. We are creating videos. It's one of the projects I'm in charge of. These videos highlight a few aspects of what we're doing. One, it highlights all the hard work that our contact tracers are doing, that are all the hard work that it takes to create these pop-up events. It's a lot of effort and a lot of human power to get these things going. The second ones really highlight a lot of our success stories from individuals who've been exposed, who have gone through our resources, people who tested positive and received our resources, and their experience with it. We want to make sure that when we put these videos out there, that people understand that this isn't some actor, this isn't someone that we paid. This is someone who's actually been through the entire process, a community member, someone that they can run into, hopefully wearing a mask if they ever have to meet in person. But we want to make sure that all the individuals who participate in these programming, people who are on our flyers, they're all community members that someone can and will eventually recognize. So that's our biggest focus right now in the communication aspect. I do want to keep it brief because I do know we have quite a bit of speakers here. So same thing, if there's any other questions regarding the communication process, what we're doing as a county to communicate our messaging, feel free to ask at the end. But I'll go ahead and pass it on to the next person, Martin.
Thank you, Gilbert. Cheryl from the Sonoma Valley Health Center is here with us tonight too.
Good evening, and thank you so much for having us here today. So I will just basically reiterate that a lot of what Nora and Gilbert said is pretty much true. The county is doing the large, probably a huge bulk of the testing right now. If anyone watched the news this morning, they probably heard that some of the larger testing agencies have basically asked to put a hold on testing. And quite frankly, from our perspective, we have found that the county testing is much more timely than that from commercial labs. So right now, we're sending our tests to the county. We're getting our test results back in 24 to 36 hours. We continue to test here at the clinic throughout the week. So if the pop-up is here on Monday, obviously you can go to the pop-up, but if you need to be tested on other days, we are testing at the clinic. And for the most part, it's pretty much walk-in and walk-up. So we're happy to do those testings. We are also working with the county to do some point of care testing. It's currently in the early phases. So what that basically means is that if you're symptomatic and you come here to be tested, starting next Monday, we'll be using a point of care test. That should give you results in about 30 minutes. Because it's phase 1, what that means is that we'll also have to do a PCR test to verify the test results. We'll be doing that until the county tells us that phase 1 is over. But I think that is could potentially be a game changer. I will reiterate that it's not for people who are asymptomatic. Asymptomatic persons will still need to take a PCR test. So we are really, really excited about doing that. I think in terms of stopping the spread, it's really, really important if people have their results earlier than 24 to 36 hours. So that's great. We are also will be conducting flu clinics over the next few weeks. Again, I want to reiterate how important it is to have your flu shot. The symptoms for COVID and the symptoms for flu are very much similar. So we would like to be able to have people have a flu shot so we can rule out one as versus the other. Other than that, I just want to reiterate the good work that everyone's trying to do to ensure that we are healthy and that we remain safe, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Cheryl. So I think we'll move on to Gabriel with what financial assistance is available, and then we'll open up for public comment and council comment. Thank you.
Alrighty. Me llamo Gabriel Sanders. Es mi placer estar con ustedes esta noche para informarles sobre el proyecto CURA. My name is Gabe Sanders. I'm here to tell you as much as I can about the CURA project tonight and let you know what financial resources are available and also the supportive services available through CURA. I'm going to share my screen and show you the I'll show you the website and show you the flyer that is a basic flow chart for what to do if you're a member of the community and you would like to avail of the CURA project.
If I may, through the chair, Chair Iturri, is it okay for us to mention the interpretation at this time? We haven't done it in about an hour.
Go right ahead, Karina.
Para los miembros de la comunidad que desean escuchar la reunión en español, tenemos interpretación disponible en español. Si van a la parte baja a la derecha de su pantalla, verán un icono de globo que dice Interpretation. Hacen clic y seleccionan Spanish para español. Automáticamente escucharán esta parte en español. Gracias.
Gracias.
Anyway, so this is the CURA Project website, and it's available through the laplazancc.org website. La Plaza is at the center of the project, and our administrative team consists of one of the directors of La Plaza, Hwy12 Javier Cabrera Rosales, you might have seen him in the Press Democrat recently. He couldn't make it tonight, so I'm here trying to fill some very large shoes. But one of the primary focuses of our project is delivering emergency financial assistance to the community. We recently ran out of funds for that, but we will be reopening the financial assistance application on November 30th. So you can see that there at the very top of the website. Está disponible en español también, right here. But one of the important aspects of this project is its accessibility and its utility for the community. So this is the general flow chart. We have it in Spanish and in English. On the left side, you see servicios de apoyo or supportive services. On the right, cuidado de cuarentena es asistencia financiera. So you'll see that it's tied to isolation care. The emergency financial assistance that we offer is reserved for members of the community in greatest need. And we classify that as people who have recently tested positive for COVID-19 and have received an isolation order. And if you are able to provide the public health order to us or a positive test, we will be able to open up a case management with one of our family resource centers. We are connected to family resource centers across the county and generally will assign you to a case manager based on your zip code. You can see down at the very bottom that we have roughly just over a dozen organizations working with us. IsoCare, the IsoCare network, provides the isolation assistance, helping community members understand exactly what they need to do in order to isolate safely. Apologize for that. And basically helping people mitigate spread. That is the large objective of this county public health effort, as well as closing the equity gap for the members of our community who've been hit hardest. So those are the Latinx and Indigenous members of our community. Fund has been distributing the emergency financial aid once we have moved people through to that stage of case management. And we have other supportive services available through organizations like the Botanical Bus and the rest of the organizations here are partners within to help us process all the information and make sure that we do some organizational learning from the whole project to improve services down the line and not just during COVID-19, which hopefully will come to an end someday soon. Again, this is the basic information about the project. There is more detailed information available on the website. We're going to begin distributing this flyer, or this it's a PDF now, but we can print it. We can distribute it to anybody attending this meeting. Please get in touch with me or get in touch with Karina and we can get connected if you need materials to distribute. But the website is always there. The email is always there, and the phone number, of course, will connect you to just about anything you could possibly need through the project. And just to be clear about the supportive services, again, food distribution, COVID-19 testing, legal aid for paid sick leave, and other issues surrounding legal needs in these times, and general resource navigation. So we'll connect you to whatever we can that is something to help you weather this public health crisis. So that's about all the information that I have to present by default tonight, but I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any at this point. I'm going to stop sharing my screen unless anyone has requests related to the flowchart.
Hi, this is John. And thank you, Gabe. Did you say that was just for Sonoma County?
Yes, it is currently just for Sonoma County.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel. We'll take public comment and then comments from council members. If there are any questions, I see a couple of raised hands. Light-Karina?
Yes, so once again, members of the public who wish to make a comment, use the raise hand feature and you will be prompted to make a comment. A los miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario, por favor usen la aplicación de levantar mano en su computadora y se les va a permitir hacer su comentario. Okay, Fred, go ahead and make your comment, please.
Thank you. Yes, I listened with interest to the astounding statistics that the Latino population has 71% of cases, but at 27% of the population, followed by explanation of long-standing systemic inequities. And so that causes me to just reflect back on 500 years of New World history since the triangular trade. This is something that conceivably needs to be addressed, you know, coming up to Black Lives Matter now, and that the systemic inequities, the system that we've got just isn't working. The whole trickle-down model is not working, and so it's basically the capitalist system. And sure, I'm a socialist, I'm a democratic socialist, and this is where the effort needs to be done to change is in things like higher pay, universal health services, rent control, all the things that people can't seem to get done now. No one wants to do rent control. But the health people here are doing a good job of coming in and triaging the situation. But I think that people need to start thinking about systemic change, and that means thinking about changing the way that the economy works and changing it towards a more just and equitable system. And so that needs advocacy from people in power to say, hey, this is no good, rather than to keep on going along with it. So I've been in college. I took history, I took economics, I learned about Marxism and socialism, I learned about capitalism, and the idea that people's selfish interest is going to trickle down and help other people is obviously not working, because we have the 1% and the 99%. So I would just implore people to rattle the cage a little bit here and address what first speaker said is long-standing systemic inequities. So that's the real cause, and that's what needs to get addressed. And that's what I would really love to see our leaders start talking about, rather than just kind of keep playing along with it. And then when you have a depression and people, you know, fires or whatever, then come in with all the triage. Let's, you know, maybe start to tackle the core problems. So that would be my comment here. The longstanding systemic inequities has got to be addressed at the core economic, social levels. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Fred.
Mario, please state your name for the record and go ahead and make your comment.
Mario Castillo. Bueno, mi comentario esta noche tiene que ver con lo que sería el liderazgo. Personalmente, siempre he escuchado que Sonoma tiene su juego y que se encarga de sus propios problemas acá. Y siempre me he preguntado yo de cómo nos beneficia o nos afecta el tener esta idea de que nosotros en el Valle nos encargamos de nuestros propios problemas, y la manera tan pasiva o indiferente que en muchas ocasiones el condado nos mira. Y particularmente en situaciones de emergencia, como ha sucedido con los fuegos forestales que hemos vivido desde el 2017, y después y ahora con la pandemia, que siempre el condado termina reaccionando de una manera reactiva, pero poco proactiva. En esta ocasión nos toca lidiar con una pandemia en la cual tiene mucho que ver con y que saca a relucir las desigualdades que existen en nuestra comunidad de aquí del Valle de Sonoma. Y la falta de liderazgo y representación, ya sea por parte del gobierno o por parte de las organizaciones que están responsabilizadas a dar el servicio a la comunidad. Habla mucho el que no tengamos a una organización líder que en el Centro de la Luz y que esta noche no esté presente para hablar de algo tan importante como es este reporte. Yo personalmente me siento afortunado de trabajar con líderes, líderes que son de la gente y en el proyecto de Comida para Todos, desde que empezó la pandemia, cuando miramos que el condado y las organizaciones a las cuales están responsabilizadas no estaban dando la ayuda que las áreas en las cuales era necesario. Llevar comida a las personas que no podían llegar hasta los bancos de comida, llevar comida a las personas que no podían salir de sus casas y también conectarlas con recursos. También, y para mí eso ha sido una experiencia maravillosa, tener la oportunidad de crear liderazgo con la gente, por la gente. Y eso es algo que los líderes, ya sea del condado o de las organizaciones sin fines de lucro, han carecido por años históricamente. Desde hace 2 meses tengo el gusto de trabajar para la organización Sbcac, haciendo llamadas diarias a personas que necesitan la información y los recursos. Tengo la fortuna de referir a mínimo a 10, de entre 10 a 20 personas relativamente al día a el proyecto CURA. Y esta organización ha sido muy responsable y ha dado la ayuda que estas personas necesitan. Algo que urge y es necesario, pero que probablemente no va a ser suficiente. Y esta noche decidí hacer mi comentario en español para demostrar la importancia de siempre estar y tomar en consideración la importancia de lo que es la justicia. Me imagino y espero que mi comentario se haya sido traducido para que la audiencia que está presente haya tenido la oportunidad de escucharlo. Muchas gracias.
I got Karina, me or you?
You.
Okay. So Mr. Castillo has stated that it comes down to the leadership in the county, that the Valley has always been in charge of our own problems, and it's been evident for a long time, and the county disregards the Springs area as they did in the 2017 fires. And now even more through the pandemic, the county continues to disregard the Springs area. The inequalities are stark, and it's the leadership and the organizations that are responsible for the support in the Valley. And it speaks volumes that no one is here representing La Luz when they are the local organization. He is very pleased that he works with local leaders in Food for All as working to develop the leadership in the Food for All, because they are people from the community who take into consideration what the community needs. The group was initiated to fill a hole where people were not able to get resources and food, and this organization delivers food and works as a collaborative and supporting and creating leadership. He also states that he is fortunate to work for IsoCare, and he refers 10 to 11 people to the CURA Project a day, and he believes that they're very responsive to the need that's arising, but is it enough? And he chose to make his comment in Spanish tonight because for justice and for language. And he was hopeful that someone here would be able to translate his comment.
I think you did great, Maite. Gracias, Mario. I don't see any more raised hands in the public, so we can move to the next item.
Great. Comments from council members, questions for our guests who have been very generous with their time tonight, so thank you very much. Avram, and then Ellen, and then Ryan.
First of all, I want to thank you for presenting all that information. It's really great to know what's really going on. I think we've all been aware of how it's impacted the Latinx community and trying to get our arms around it, and because it impacts all of us, obviously. So I want to thank you for that. A couple things. One, I was reading an article over the weekend, I think it was in San Francisco, actually, the percentage of cases in the Latinx community is going down. Actually, in the younger white community, it's going up, which is kind of interesting. But I was wondering if there's a lot of communication between counties as to what's working and what's not working, and just curious. Also, just on a small thing, and I don't know how much this makes a difference, but from what I see, for example, like on Vallejo, just at Highway 12, there are a lot of day workers out there looking for jobs, etc., from the Latinx community, and none of them are wearing masks. I was just thinking that in places like that, maybe someone could just drive by and hand out a whole supply of masks, and you know, just kind of talk about the need for that. But I think it's little, sometimes small things like that can help. I don't know if anybody else is noticing that, but I've been noticing things like that. I think outreach to workers that are working together, obviously, that could be a way of beginning to curtail some of the spread.
If I may, I'd love to share just one aspect of the CURA project that I didn't mention before, and that's the CURA Project, which is, or the CURA program, which is directly related to what you're talking about. We started with, just last week, our first CURA program on site at a large winery. And it's basically an on-site training program and informational sessions to instill best practices among employees who may not have had that kind of information. So that is something, if you're, and we have outreach going to the pop-up testing sites all across the county. And we've reached over 2,000 people at this point, distributed over $750,000 emergency financial aid to over 300 members of the community. And there's time and room for more. If you have specific locations that you think might be a good place, please get in touch, especially the one you just mentioned, because we're in contact with day labor centers. But if there are specific spots that are not affiliated with an organization or a building that you're noticing, such as on Vallejo Street, please reach out.
That's great. And by the way, I do want to say, because I have a lot of Latinx neighbors and walk around the community, and a lot of the Latinx community are doing better with masks than some of the other communities. So I don't want to make it look like one picture or the other, but I mean, you guys are having an impact. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Avram. I've got Ellen, Ryan, and then Mari Carmen.
I want to thank our guests very much. Thank you so much. It was informative. It's comprehensive. I was very, very impressed. I do have a question though about the CURA project. Maybe I just missed it. I was curious whether you had just a simple donation link, that is available to people. I know you obviously have your sources, your dozen or so different supporters, providers, but I was curious whether the community can support it. I went on recently to support the Mission food bank in the city, and I was really surprised that I was redirected to a site called givebutter.com, which was kind of processing dozens of different organizations and individuals. It was interesting to me that that a organization doesn't necessarily even have to organize their own. It can actually be a link to somebody else. So I was curious about that. And then the second part of the question is, I was curious whether now that this is up and running, post-pandemic, do you have a plan that it would continue? That this would actually be, another resource within the community. And sorry if you already covered that, but curious about that.
No, I didn't cover those, so I'm glad you asked. As far as the donations go, we've talked about making a public donation portal on the webpage, and so far we have not. I will bring that up again with Hwy and with our leadership at On the Move, because obviously, CARES Act funding runs out at the end of December 31st, disappears, and we have no idea what's on the horizon as far as federal aid. So community members are always, support is welcome in whatever form it comes. And let's see, I'm sorry, I lost my notes here. As far as the future goes, I like to think of the CURA Project as a snapshot of what equity looks like in terms of health access to what I consider basic human rights, which are health and, just the ability to weather a global pandemic. I would love to see future investment from the county, but that's not up to CURA. We would have to find new forms of funding to keep these services going. So I would be remiss not to mention that the CURA Project only exists because community-based organizations have been doing the same work for years, including La Luz, which our speaker, the guest speaker, pointed out. They couldn't make it tonight. I don't know why, but they are doing the big lift here. The admin team, including myself, we're in the background just keeping the moving parts moving. But it's going to be up to supporting those community-based organizations that know their communities much better than I ever could, and lifting up their work and showing that the nonprofit sector, which is filling a need right now, is filling a need that shouldn't have to be filled, frankly. So I'll stop there, but thank you for asking that question.
Thank you.
Can I jump in too? I also wanted to thank you for the question and Gabriel for answering it in that way. I know that's, it's at the top of everybody's mind. I just want to say a couple of things. So just to emphasize, the lack of cohesion at a federal level is having a real impact here in terms of our ability to fund this. And so we are working to find additional strategies for funding this. We all know that COVID isn't going away magically on January 1st. I also wanted to emphasize again, this work was happening, right? This is not something the county invented. The county helped pay for some additional administrative support to bring people together and to create a referral process that also linked with public health. But again, just to credit these folks, and again, the Latinx work group did not invent this either, right? But just helped elevate that this work was happening and that it was already meeting a gap. So thank you, Gabe, for saying those things. The other two pieces I just wanted to highlight are that, in all of that coordination effort, public health has been a partner in that too. And Hwy and various members of the team are meeting regularly with the contact tracers, with the testing team, with Gilbert and the PIO folks. So we are really trying to integrate as much as we can It is unfortunately, for government, sometimes a new way of working, and for the Department of Health Services, a lot of these are new partners. But we would really like to figure out ways to sustain these relationships, because Ellen, it's a great observation, right? That these communities have needs that the county has difficulty meeting because we don't have the expertise in-house. And so we've developed these relationships. We're developing these relationships. It isn't always as smooth as we would like. We are so grateful to CURA and all of the partners there for working with us to figure it out. But there's a real incentive, I think, for the county as well, in terms of, having just invested this amount of money in strengthening some existing infrastructure, right, to figure out ways to keep partnering. So just to emphasize that, Gabe and I are on the same page. And can I just also address, my daughter came in to say goodnight, so I didn't get to answer one of Avram's questions, but just about counties talking to each other and seeing what works. So absolutely, our county health director, Barbie Robinson, is in contact regularly. Our health officers are in contact regularly with other Bay Area and Northern California and statewide health officers and health directors. They are on regular calls, sharing what works. I will say that I'm part of BARHI, which is the Bay Area Regional Health and Equities Initiative. So it's a collaboration of all the Bay Area health departments focused on equity, and many counties have reached out to us to hear about our Latinx strategy and strategies, the CURA Project, our Latinx Health Work Group. People really want to hear a lot about our health equity officer, our equity officer, and how that department is folded into this work. So, sometimes the grass is greener, right? It's really exciting to hear about what's working in other places, but I do just want to say, I think that in a lot of ways we are out in front. I think the fact that we have positioned this work, and Gabe, not to overstate our hand here, right? There is a lot of places we can improve the work, but I think, we really have gone above and beyond what some of the other counties are capable of doing in terms of partnering and really elevating the work and putting the community first in the design of the solution, right? To filling these gaps, and to really giving a voice to folks who were already doing the work and just needed to be have that elevated connection that the county can bring. So yes, absolutely, lots of collaboration with other counties to share what works, and I've been really excited to be able to share some of our successes with, big counties like Alameda that don't have a Latinx outreach strategy, right? Shocking, but they have been in contact with us quite a bit over the last 2 weeks to hear about our work.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yes, thank you. I do have questions for all of our panelists. Is it all right if I just go down the list, Territory? Okay. So starting with Nora, in your contract tracing slide, you said have aimed to hire bilingual staff. Has this been done? What's the status of that?
Yeah, yes. I am remiss that I don't have the exact numbers right now, but I think it's somewhere in the 50 to 75% range over the course of the last 3 months. So there is quite a bit of turnover in those positions because, as I mentioned, they are taxing emotionally. And we have recently lost some staff who had to return back to their normal duties. The state provided some contact tracers. So we're continuing to fill those gaps. It's not enough. We really need, a workforce that is almost completely bilingual, again, because, even a matter of hours, right, in terms of getting in touch with somebody about their status or their contacts, giving them advice about isolation and quarantine can have significant ramifications in terms of who they might, expose in that time. So we are working, they are hard positions. If anybody here wants to shoot me or through Karina has advice about places to look for staff or has, individuals in mind, certainly let us know. The other thing to keep in mind is it's a month of training. So it's even when we hire people, there's a lag time because it's really extensive training that people get, which is great, but it's a big commitment on the part of the department.
Thank you. And another thing I was thinking is in consideration with the Latinx health work group, it might be beneficial for this body, if at all possible, to receive a monthly update of what comes out of that. I mean, that's the first time I'd heard of said group. So I think that information would be extremely useful for us. Not saying that you have to make a decision. I'm just putting that, that idea out there for my fellow council people to hear. Thank you. So moving on to Gilbert, has your multicultural media outreach been successful? And what has there been any metrics that you've seen pre-media versus post-media outreach?
It's still early to show any metrics of clear cut. This is what's working 100%. This is what isn't. We do know, since we started doing a lot of the radio PSAs and started going to work with a lot of our CBO partners, getting those door hangers ready for people, we have seen the increase in testing. And we have seen more individuals who, upon arrival to the testing sites, like I said, I've been to two of them myself for the entire process with them, partially to collect photos of people who are willing to take photos. But I usually ask them, hey, what made you come out here today? Most of the time, it's a pretty straight answer. Well, I just want to get tested. But other times we hear like, oh, well, I heard on the radio. I heard on the radio it's free, which is what I was looking for, free testing. Obviously, we do know we want people one of the best ways to get tested is obviously through your own health provider. But if you don't have insurance, if you're not able to get in there, these testing pop-ups are they're great. They're a great resource. So thus far, with actual metrics, I can't tell you the exact number of how successful we are. I'm sure we'll be able to get back to you on that eventually. But we do know just from the short samples that we received at the testing sites, from the short samples that I've seen, from the larger turnout of these testing sites, that it is thus far being very effective.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, Cheryl, I had a question for you. How many people are you guys seeing a day? Because I know it looked like when in Nora's slide, it was 333 tests a day, but I think that's separate. That's the pop-up at in Boys Hot Springs. So how many people are you testing a day, would you say?
Here at the clinic, we're not testing as many people as we used to. So I'll give you, for instance, last week, we only tested 30 people for the entire week. Of those 30 people, 12 tested positive. So we are knowing that there is an increase in the number of people who are testing positive. I will tell you that today and yesterday, we already hit 30. So it is going up. The one thing I would like to state, just for the record, is the fact that people are saying, I want to get tested to go home for Thanksgiving. And COVID testing is a point-in-time test. So at that point in time, it'll tell you whether or not you're positive or negative. It will not tell you whether or not you're positive or negative on Thanksgiving morning. A lot of the testing that we do is actually symptom-related right now, and a lot of the asymptomatic people are going to the pop-ups on East Thompson.
Thank you for that. Okay, Gabriel, with the CURA Project, what is the average financial amount of the dispersal of funds?
The average is probably, that's not my specific area of expertise. I would expect it's probably somewhere around $1,500 to $1,700. The maximum has been $3,000, but we're going to have to reduce that going forward. I'm sorry. Is there somebody?
Sorry, it's Nora. I just happen to know that the average has been closer to 1,700. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad I was close. And I think that's the number we've used to base our future ability to distribute aid. So because 3,000 was the cap before, and money is going to be a little bit more difficult to come by in the next several months, but we want to be able to offer as much as we can. There are parallel programs with the county that will be available, but we aren't directly routing people to that. So what's available through the CURA project is, yeah, the average of 1,700, but it's depending on individual need and demonstrated need.
So thank you for that. And so demonstrated need, what is the turnaround from opening up a case to dispersal of funds? Is someone waiting 2 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
In general, our goal at the beginning was to get back to people, get in contact with them within 24 to 48 hours. Obviously, as people became aware of the program, we got a lot of people coming in. Like I said, we've done outreach to over 2,000 people, and I'm sure close to that many number have called in. So generally, I think we've been able to get people turned around a check within 2 weeks. Anything more than that, I think would probably be something we'd try to eliminate. But the last I heard, 2 weeks was about the maximum.
Thank you. That concludes my questions. Thank you guys all for participating in this and for the work that you're doing. I mean, it's truly excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan. We have Mari Carmen and then and then Supervisor Gorin.
Yes, thank you. I just, wanted to say that while the county is an entity in itself, I do want to give, my props to the staff, especially the ones at the Latinx work group. They're very dedicated. So like Nora, Brittany, Alegria, they really have been, listening to our concerns, our recommendations. And as she said, one of the key things that at least I always stated was the geographic connection, making sure that during, in this case, the CURA project that we, oh, I can't, can you?
We can hear you again.
Oh, can you hear me now? Did you hear me at all or nothing?
Most of it.
Oh, okay. That's weird. I don't know what happened. Well, I just wanted to, I was saying that with the CURA project, one of the things that, we emphasized with the Latinx group was that there be a connection of geographical areas because sometimes there's not a connection of, there wasn't a connection with the different resource centers. But I don't know if you heard that my props to, to the county workers. One recommendation that I still do have is that for the PIO team is that while you are doing the public announcements and the radio stations in Santa Rosa, that does not come to our valley, and radio stations from Santa Rosa are not heard in Sonoma Valley. So we are being missed, with that information. So I would wonder, how, how the people here in Sonoma Valley are hearing. Have you come to Sonoma Valley to see what they're hearing or where they heard about it? That would be awesome if, we actually had a little, sample information of where they're hearing about it. So I think, those are, my props, again, to everyone and to each person, because like I said, the county is an entity, but it's really the dedication and the work of the individuals. Thank you.
Supervisor Gorin.
All right, can I just one little?
Oh, sure.
We really do appreciate that comment, Mari Carmen. Just so you know, we are aware of these pockets where these radio ads just don't get there. For me personally, I'm one of the individuals that is actually going to a lot of these sites to talk to individuals to get their personal communication, and I will make that note to see how it is that they're hearing it so that we can better address that situation as a whole.
Thank you. Supervisor Gorin.
I just wanted to thank all of our speakers on the panel tonight. Great information. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. And I think Sonoma Valley in general needs kudos for the great work on the Sonoma Valley Latinx Task Force. It's every Friday morning at 8:30 to 9:30. Maite and Mary Carmen are on the phone. Karina, Kathy Capriola, and the whole range of folks really focusing on health and outreach to our Latinx community. And now really focusing on outreach to our business community, because the county's effort is to increase the testing of as many people as possible, trying to get the denominator of the number of folks tested to increase so that it lowers our positivity rate and our rate of infections, so that we were actually very successful in being moving into the red tier, but no, we are not quite being successful as a county, so, or as a state. So we're stalled there, but I have confidence that if we continue the work through CURA on the move, Lely Center, the health center, and everybody else, that we will get there. We'll be healthier and the outreach will be significantly improved. The press release just came out today that the county approved $1.8 million further for CURA and On the Move. So we will be moving forward with issuing additional financial assistance for those folks who've been identified with COVID. The county also is negotiating and may have concluded negotiations for a motel rooms in Sonoma for quarantining. And so that is moving forward. And there was one other thing I was going to say, but it escapes me at the moment. So thank you all. Great program tonight, great information. And we are all working together on this and we'll get there. So thanks so much.
So I'm calling on myself. Thank you all very much for being here and being here during this holiday week and late into the evening. I'm a data nerd, so I've been watching the numbers, and our zip code was second for a significant amount of time, and then we seem to have dropped, and now we're back up to second highest in the county. And I went and got tested at the boys at the Hwy12. I went twice. I went first to know if it was something I wanted to recommend. And then the second time I had someone take pictures of me so I could promote it. And I think it's really important, but it happens for 2 hours on a Monday morning. And I know Cheryl doesn't want to do less testing. I know she doesn't want to do 30 tests a week. So I'm very concerned about the availability, that it's from 9 to 11 at a time when most people are at work. And we don't have anything happening in the evenings or on the weekends. We know that the community we're trying to reach are the frontline workers, and they're the ones out doing those jobs that keep getting them sick. So what can we do people didn't drive to Santa Rosa pre-pandemic. They're certainly not going to drive to Santa Rosa now. So the options are far greater when you're on the Hwy12 corridor than when you're isolated here in Sonoma Valley. So I really urge you to find some resources to bring more testing to this community that can happen at a time that is more accessible to folks. But I do appreciate everything that you're doing and all the attention that you're putting to the Latinx community. I greatly appreciate that. I am passionate about my work and passionate about this community, and they deserve more. So they need it. So thank you. Avram.
I want to second just what you said. Actually, I went on Monday to be tested, and you can make an appointment, but if you don't know how to make an appointment or where to find it, you can't make an appointment, or it doesn't reach you. So I made an appointment, and they sort of separated the folks with appointments from the people that were just standing there. And even on a Monday morning, I mean, the line was going around the block and down the street. So, I mean, people want to be tested. So I second and third your suggestion about trying to get more times that people can be available because there's an incredible demand. And I will say something, and this is to congratulate the people that are doing the test. I got my results back today. So that was a little over 24 hours, which sort of blew my mind. And fortunately I was negative, but it's a simple test, more testing, we can do a far better job. So I really want to encourage the county, whatever you can do, it's a great way to spend the money. I think it's absolutely necessary.
Matt, can I just say that we are currently in negotiations with the county to do additional testing. That testing will actually occur at St. Leo's, and it will occur in the closer to the evening time. It's one of the things that we really talked with the county about at length, because of the fact that we do know that people are working, and to have something later in the evening would be instrumental in getting people tested. So the county is working on it. They're working on doing it with all of the community health centers in Sonoma County. And all we're waiting for right now is the contract. So it's coming soon. So it's coming.
Thank you, Cheryl. That's good to hear. And thank you to the county for making that happen. I think that's super important.
Maite?
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Iris?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. I have a question about people being asymptomatic. What is the percentage of people who appear to be asymptomatic are testing positive? This is kind of does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand the question. I don't know that I have an answer for it. I don't know that we break our data down in that way. So give me a second here. And I don't know if you've looked at our SoCo emergency website. There's tons of data here. And I know we report on symptoms, but I don't know that we look at it in terms of, or report it anyway, in terms of how many asymptomatic cases we catch. I mean, one thing to keep in mind is that the pop-ups are really aimed to catch anybody who's asymptomatic. So we do lots of other targeted testing. We do work site testing when there are outbreaks. We do school site testing. So, you know, a good day for a testing nurse is going to a site with a really high testing positivity, right? And so the pop-ups are really meant to capture those folks who might be asymptomatic and are not aware. You know, to Cheryl's point, and thank you for bringing that up, we're trying to close those gaps in terms of being able to access a test if you are symptomatic, right? Because for much of this pandemic nationally, that's been a challenge, right? Even with symptoms, you can't get a test. So we're trying to close those gaps in addition to expanding our ability to capture the asymptomatic folks. If you give me a second here, maybe ask another question and I can just see what comes up on our website.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other questions from the council? Ellen? I think you're
I
muted.
actually have a kind of a related question. Because you're providing legal services, I was just kind of curious whether there is any pattern that is emerging of you know, that suggests that worker protections need to be in place. I know that you're looking at a particular legal perspective, available time off, et cetera, if somebody is sick, but I'm just kind of curious if anything is kind of coming up, which is a related problem that, you know, your research is discovering. And I guess the question, I'm thinking the question is really for Gabriel for the CURA project.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Since you're able to give legal aid to people, particularly as it relates to being able to have time off if they're ill, et cetera, I'm just wondering if there's any pockets of worker abuse that is being revealed as you are providing those kinds of services. You know, is it becoming apparent that that is another problem, a tangential problem, but another problem here in the Valley?
To my knowledge, at this point, that sort of most large employers, Santa Rosa and Sonoma County, there's an ordinance in place that all companies under 500 employees need to provide the paid sick leave. So they are obligated. The legal aid is to make them meet that obligation. To my knowledge, I haven't heard that there are any particular large companies that are not meeting that obligation. But in our monitoring and evaluation, we have LEAP Solutions on board. Susana Morales is leading the team for us from LEAP to help us glean that kind of information. So that's a great question. And I will definitely communicate that that is a focus in the community in, you know, at least in the MAC here for Springs area, because that is critical information to have on hand, you know, because there's a huge burden on employers right now to keep their employees safe. Paying them for sick leave is yet another burden, but it is one that they've always been obligated to. So it's nothing new.
Thank you.
Can I just address Iris's question? So,
Yes.
So if you go to SoCo Emergency, again, tons of data, but I'm just looking at the numbers here. And overall, of all our positive cases, about 11% never have any symptoms. That's broken down by all cases and within the Latinx community, it's about 12%, so comparable. And so one, I'm not an epidemiologist and I'm not a disease control nurse, so let me just caveat that. But I also know that our testing positivity rates at our pop-ups have, you know, range somewhere in the 7 to 15% range, right? So for every pop-up, we catch about 7 to 15% of the individuals are positive. So again, that just reinforces that probably somewhere in the 10 to 15% of cases are asymptomatic. That doesn't answer your question about asymptomatic at the time of test versus developing symptoms, because these numbers are about ever developed symptoms, right? So, and symptoms can appear as late as 14 days after exposure, which is part of the challenge, right? So, but even with that in mind, even the 10% of folks with a confirmed diagnosis never have a symptom is a pretty staggering number. If you imagine that, you know, many, many more people in that first 7 to 10 days have absolutely no symptoms either. And that's why it's such a challenging disease to get under control, right? Because it hides itself pretty well for a while until it meets somebody who's particularly vulnerable or susceptible to it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the group? Is there any, did I miss anybody? Is there any, can we take more public comment based on the conversation?
According to the bylaws, consideration of items proceeds as follows: presentation by proponent, questions by commissioners, questions and comments from the public, response by proponent if required, comments by commissioners, resolution if indicated. So we've already passed that, but you can make that decision, Chair.
So we'll take, there's one public comment, we'll take that, and then we will take a break because this is a receive, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Mario, adelante con su comentario.
I appreciate you making the exception. I'm assuming that since there is not a lot of public comment, I decided to make I decided to give it a shot. And thank you, Chair Iturri, for allowing me to make a second comment, and the rest of the audience, of the participants. I just wanted to reiterate and really second and really appreciate Mari Carmen's comment and Cherry Tori's comment in terms of the importance to be mindful of what goes on here in the Valley. I mean, again, you know, Santa Rosa, it's really out there. And while I appreciate everything that they're trying to do and all the efforts, you know, I feel that if they could make, you know, they could try to really, I guess, work more with local organizations and then really develop I guess, some sort of a cohesive approach for this community, and that goes also for Gabriel, particularly in terms of education. I mean, it blows my mind, you know, that we are, you know, months into this pandemic, and people here in this community don't know the difference between isolation and quarantining. I mean, that's huge. That's huge, and the way, I mean, and also it really comes down to education and how the education is being done, whether it's sensitive, culturally sensitive, and it's also geared towards the particulars of this community. So I'm just begging you guys to take that into consideration and then really think on how the outreach and information and education is done. And I appreciate some of the efforts that Karina is doing with, you know, by bringing this personality from Azteca America. And I mean, I guess there's been some efforts, and I guess you know, I should appreciate that, and you know, if there is any need, obviously, please reach out, and I'm happy to help in any way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario.
I just want to say, Mario, you work for ISOCare. I usually interact with Elise Hempel around invoicing, but please reach out. We'd love to talk to you.
Okay. I really would like to extend my gratitude to the panelists who spent the evening with us tonight. Your information has been very, very, very helpful. We are unique here in the Valley that we are isolated by our geographic location, and it does make a difference when you come and share information with us and you can hear some of our concerns. So we really appreciate that. You know, we are number 2 on that list of zip codes. So we need some help, and we need to make some changes here. So thank you for that. We will take a quick break, and then we'll finish with our emergency preparedness. So it's 8:37. So let's take, Nora, did you have a question?
Yep, I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all tonight and your engagement. I really appreciate it. And I wanted to say that as part of the COVID unit that we have in public health now, one of the positions that we have recently hired is a health equity manager. And she starts next week, and I will not say who she is. Some of you may know her, but she is from the Sonoma. She is from the Sonoma Valley. So she will be a great addition to, you know, making sure that the Sonoma Valley is represented equitably in all the work that we do. So more to come on that front.
Great, thank you, thank you. Okay. So we'll take a quick 7-minute break here, and we'll come back at 8:45 and finish the agenda. Thank you all again for being here with us this evening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll get started again. Thank you. So we have some reports to receive. And let's get started. Emergency preparedness. Mari Carmen and Iris, do you have anything you want to share?
You can go ahead first, Iris, and I will follow you.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm very excited. We're going to have our first Map Your Neighborhood class on December 5th at 3 p.m. That's a Saturday. The class will be no longer than an hour and 15 minutes. And it's basically a class for block leaders, but we're certainly not limiting it. Anyone who's interested may attend. And the class will be as if we had been convened as a group of neighbors who are being introduced to the Map Your Neighborhood program, which is fitting since most of us don't really know a whole lot about it. It's a way of learning by doing. And I did send an invitation to everyone on the council. And if you can attend, it would be great. It would at least be educational so that you have an idea of what's going on. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Iris. And with that said, I do want to say that we are working on translating the class narrative in Spanish so that we can host a class in Spanish as well. So that will be coming soon as well. And I'm really excited that this is moving forward. When I had created on a personal neighborhood Facebook group for my area, I had interest from other people that have tried to join the group. So those individuals have been referred to Iris as well. But that's all from my part. And I think Mike is going to talk about, she already mentioned about the job description being out, but she can speak more to that.
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you both. So we do have a job description out. It is out through the Ecology Center. We are accepting applications. We're very excited about the possibility of how that's going to all work together to offer some support. The Ecology Center has been amazing to work with, super easy, super helpful. And they've helped us, we designed the job, but they really they're taking the lead on the hiring and the publishing of it and everything. So if you can help push it out, that would be great. It is on our Facebook page. We'd like to get a few folks. We really want somebody who knows the Springs area. The second thing that we've been working on is working on a Gofundme page. So there'll be a Gofundme page happening shortly about raising funds we have a fiscal sponsor, raising funds to purchase a trailer and the supplies that we want to house. The school district is agreeable to having it housed at the transportation barn, so some things are moving in a really good direction. With both of those items. And, to Mari Carmen and Iris's leadership in making all the Map Your Neighborhood things happen. So good work, and we'll keep moving forward, and it's all coming together. And I think we'll hear from Ray now about Fire Safe Council and where we are with that.
Chair, if I may, I'm sorry. I'm being told we're having a technical issue with our interpretation. So let's see. Jordy, can we test this? Let me check one thing.
Okay.
Jordi, ¿puedes hablar, por favor?
It's
Sí.
working. Patty says
Okay.
it's good. Okay, Ryan, did you have a question? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no, I had a quick question for Iris regarding the Map Your Neighborhood. The invitations that were sent out, where did the list come from and how many people did we send it out to?
It's been sent out to 30 people. But of course, you all were 8 of those people, including Karina. And I've been talking to people in my neighborhood, people who walk around, people I know. That's how I've done it for the most part. Mari has helped with the Facebook page, and I'm pretty completely inconsistent when it comes to that. So she's leading that charge.
Yeah.
And that's why I ask you to talk it up to people, to your friends and neighbors, because that's the way we'll accumulate people, I think. I really think that the face-to-face is the best way to do it. It's really important also to recruit in the Spanish-speaking community. So I don't speak Spanish very well at all, so another area of incompetence for me. So thank you.
Ryan, there is a flyer on our Facebook page too that can be blasted to our networks too. Mari, were you going to say something else? No, you're good?
I know, I just wanted to say what Iris said, that I did a post on Facebook, and I also invited people through the neighborhood groups that I created on the street that I live.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, good work, everybody. Ray and John, you want to report on your Fire Safe Council work?
You're right, if I'd start, John.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to tie into what you guys were talking about as well, and I'm not sure where this falls in between us all, but there was an email today, and I was going to mention it later in public announcements if we didn't get to it, but this is a good segue. There was an email from Jeff Peters for CERT training is starting again. So if anybody's interested in that, I'll forward that on to Karina to send to the rest of the MAC in case you guys didn't get it. I believe it's self-study. I didn't read the whole email. It's self-study, and once you're done with the 12 to 14 hours of self-study, then you will schedule the in-person hands-on training, which will be offered by the Northern Sonoma County CERT program. So I'll pass that along. John and I met with Roberta McIntyre and from the Sonoma County Fire Safe Council, and Dave Duncan from the Grove Street Fire Safe Council. We met along with Lucas Patzek, who's a member of our community and involved in fire safe councils, and he works in Napa, but his work generally is in support of fire safe councils. So he's got some good input for us. I think really our next steps are to go out and reach out into the community for more key members, and perhaps right now a website and a name for ourselves. We could start looking at a ULR so we could put information up for meetings and things like that. I think we're looking for the first quarter of 2001 to get that going. January. I think we're all a little fatigued from multiple disasters, and after the new year we can hit the ground running and bring together our core group. And so between now and then, John and I will meet and carry on the work. John, do you have anything else you want to add?
Well, that was a great summary, and I would just add that this group, the safety councils that have are up and running today, they are passionate about helping new ones like us get up and started. I was really just amazing, intrigued at the resources from how we should roadmap and blueprint this thing going forward, and the resources available and the funding to help us. So I think 2021, to Ray's point, is a really good, start to really kind of run fast. And between that now and then, Ray and I will start trying to work on getting a little bit bigger committee for the ad hoc.
And we can start working on the CWPP. There's Roberta talked to us about working through them to get the CWPP going for our community prior to having anything set up, as far as us having a corporate structure set up. They could be our fiscal sponsor and help work with us with that. So we want to explore the formal and informal realms of where, I think we'll know when it's time we have to incorporate, but try to explore this as far as we can informally and with the help of our county partners.
Thank you both so much, Ray. I know how hard you've been working on this. It's nice that you've got you guys to do it together. So that's awesome. Yay. I'm happy to come to a meeting. I want to know more, so invite me.
We'll keep inviting you, and if you can show up, and otherwise, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Iris?
Well, thank you.
Did you have a question, Iris? I'm sorry.
Well, we've started calling the Map Your Neighborhood effort communities, our Springs community emergency preparedness,
Okay.
and since the goal is to join the Map Your Neighborhood and the neighborhood leaders with that, I'm kind of hoping we can
Springs Community Fire Safe Council.
Yeah.
I'll look at ULRs and I'll see what's available, and we may have to, how ULRs are. I may just informally do that and then get approval later. If I find
good
one
idea though.
Yeah.
and then host the beginnings of a website. I can do that along with my web service provider, along with my business website, for no big deal. And we can figure out how to transition that over later, but try to get that moving so that's ready for us for the beginning of the first of the year.
Yeah, it would be great to have, something that unifies, so people can.
Agreed. I think the branding and the whole messaging should all be together. So let's talk about that going forward.
Yeah, keep it consistent. It's a good call.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you. Plaza Group. And then Ellen, I don't know if you want to give an update on the survey too, or I can help out with that as well. So start wherever you'd like.
Okay. You're okay if I share my screen?
Yes.
All right. So with Maite's help, this community survey was put onto a Google Doc, and it actually is more condensed. It's easier to get through. It's quick. I just wanted to take you through it. What do you think, Maite? Should I go through it all? Are we going to have a resolution on this?
Go really. I just go quickly through it. I don't know that we need I don't think we are set for a resolution on this. I think we'll just push it out.
Oh, that's fine. So the community survey, it opens up with an introduction of ourselves. And the only change that I made to this, Maite, was actually I took out the reference to a mailer. You can send it in, you can drop it off, whatever. I took that out because this is going to be online. But, it's actually a better layout. Covers, how have you been impacted? It's got some open-ended so people can fill it in. What kinds of losses are you able to meet the needs of you and your family? And if not, are you getting help from, these organizations or some other organization? Have you been the victim of a scam? Then it goes into emergency preparedness. Are you prepared? What is your emergency plan? It's an open-ended also. In the event of an emergency, what supplies and resources do you have? Do you have a place to store stuff? How do you get emergency information? Would you like to know, or would you know where to go in this community if you had to evacuate? Would you be able to get to a shelter? Do you have a disability? And would you require a vehicle to evacuate? And then some optional, what do they want to share their name? Please, put in the address for sure, number, email, and then here's a link to our Municipal Advisory Council. So what I would have to do is to get the embed link, and maybe Ryan or Ray or somebody could help me figure out, well, how do I get that on websites? But this would be resting in Google Docs with the answers, as they come in. And so thank you, Maite. I appreciate it.
I'm going to get it translated if you don't have any other changes that need to be made, and then I'll send you both links. Well, you can actually get them because you're a co-collaborator on it.
Sounds good. I made one very, very small change, and yeah, I thought this was much better. And I do have a little recap of my discussion with Nextdoor. I can go through it very, very quickly.
Hold on one second, Ellen. John, did you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, this looks great. You can get, too many questions and they don't answer, not enough questions, and it's not meaningful and impactful on a survey. But I was wondering if a lot of people don't know if they have renters or homeowners insurance, if they get forced to evacuate, there's coverage that is available for them for additional living expenses. And I'm wondering if we want to know if they have insurance, proper homeowners insurance or renters insurance, so we can guide them with information. It's just something I just thought of as I was thinking of this, but it might not be the right spot for this survey. But I open that as something to think about. I'm amazed at how many people didn't know they had a certain amount of coverages that their renter's insurance covers in the event of forced evacuation or wildfire stuff.
Well, I think we can add, what do you think, Maite? I think we could add another question to that effect.
Yeah, I also think it'd be good for the educational piece of it too.
Right.
So people are aware that that's something you might want to have.
Yeah, it's really good. I know a lot of people that were wiped out with no insurance and wish they had it. I think it's good for the educational piece, as you point out. Could it just be a radio button under "Are you prepared"?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it'd even be something like, have you checked your insurance coverage lately? Do you know if you've got enough? I mean, something along those lines might be. So we aren't necessarily asking them to tell us whether they're covered or not, but just to prompt them to go take a look at what they do have.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just going through this.
If I might interject, I agree with you, Maite. I feel like the question of do you have insurance is a bit intrusive personally.
Yeah.
But I like it pointing at it from a different direction. One thing I would suggest in looking at the survey here, having done these in the past, if you don't make them required answers, you're going to get a lot of people that just skip over answers or skip over questions. So we may want to make the requirement that you have to answer every question to get to the next question. That would give us more information in the long run. Otherwise, people might just answer a couple questions and be like, "Oh, this is too long, forget it." You don't have to make all of them required answers, of course, but we may want to consider
So one of the things that I saw in the settings, Maite, was that you could certainly show the progress button for people, and you could show these questions one at a time. I didn't see that it wouldn't advance if you didn't answer all the questions. Does that exist?
I know SurveyMonkey does that. I'm not sure if, I think this one does it too. I think if you don't answer it, it's not going to let you go to the next question.
Yeah, I think it's a setting. It's been a while since I created one of these, but I believe it's a setting where you have to, if you scroll down, Ellen, there's some questions that have a red asterisk next to them. Those they would have to answer in order to go forward, like address or neighborhood. That's required.
Got it.
So it's something within the formatting itself. So just something to think about.
Okay, well that's good to know. And let me go back. Where was I again? What is your emergency plan in the event of evacuation? We could actually add that question here.
Do you have proper, you mean the insurance question?
Yeah, have you checked your insurance policy?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could add that as and this is, I think that's a multiple choice, or I think that's a checkbox, so they can check as many boxes there. It's not just a one, it's not just a multiple choice.
Okay. So I can make that change.
Ellen,
Yes.
under disability, you have mobility and vision, but not hearing. And
oh no, hearing is here.
It's there. Okay, great. Thank you. I didn't see it. Thank you. Okay.
I think we
didn't hear anything. So
if we're going to make these required, then we need to have a decline to state in some of them, right? Because we don't.
Yeah, that's true.
I agree.
So, Ellen, I'm going to leave it in your capable hands, and if you want my support, I'm here with you. But I think we need like some decline to states or.
Okay. I'll do my best.
I'm here. I can help you.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And I did want to, quickly share with you what I heard from the next door, because I think that is going to be an opportunity for us. I hope it's going to be an opportunity.
Could I add one thing? Can I add one thing, Ellen, on the survey? Particularly on those, where you can check more than one box, that you put something in there, check as many that apply, so they know they have more than, they don't have to just check one box.
Yes.
And Ellen, when you're ready to go, let me know, and I'll get it translated. It'll be two different documents. It'll be, if I can do it on one, it'd be better, but it may end up being two different documents.
Okay.
Yeah, Ellen, I would just put check all that apply.
I will.
Yeah, okay.
I did see that today, Maite, that I could actually extend, a question up here, I can actually add to that. So
yeah,
I will do that.
Okay.
So we good? Should I move on?
I think so. I can't see everybody, so I'm making the assumption that everybody's okay.
Okay, I'll try to make this really, really quick. I did have a conversation after our last meeting with Joseph Porcelli. He's the Global Public Agency Lead at Nextdoor. He was actually interested in our proposal. I don't know if I mentioned this last time around, but when he called me, he said, I get proposals all the time, but I was actually interested in yours because you laid it out and it lines up with what we are grappling with, meaning what Nextdoor is grappling with. And by the way, Joseph's background is FEMA. So he is charged with trying to find solutions in communities like ours. He made that really clear. So he was interested. He will consider specific features that we're suggesting. The idea of the help map, which they already have, it is not an efficient matching process, which was obviously known to him, and I was pointing that out to him. But whether they can make it more efficient is to be determined. That is definitely their goal. The readiness map that I was suggesting that is like a cheer map or the trick or treat maps that they have. Yes, definitely something that they're exploring. It's to be determined. They would like to work with us on Nextdoor's launch of its National Preparedness Initiative, which is targeted to communities like ours, or leaders, I guess you would say, like us. It's also targeted to the media, by the way. They are going to invite us to join the conversation if people have time. I'm definitely going to make the time to participate in that. What he was saying was that, they have been off and on trying to struggle with this thing over time, just because if they're going to put it into a community like ours, they have to have it ready for all communities. They have to vet this thing so it's going to work everywhere. So that's one of the reasons why he was really very curious about, well, what could we help him understand what a community needs. Using Nextdoor based on the MAC boundaries is available today, but it can only be done at the county level, or a government level, I should say. But in our case, it's the county level. And the way they explained it is Sonoma County Communications Department would be giving permission to Supervisor Gorin to create a MAC boundary shapefile, which we would then send for our ability to post within the MAC area. It's just a more efficient way of going about this. And it's a one-time effort. So we can already do that. I asked the question, is Nextdoor able to pinpoint Spanish language homes? Because you can see people speaking Spanish in Nextdoor, and the answer to that is no. And we also can't create a boundary of Spanish language homes a la a shapefile. No, that is not available. The question of, can people post their escape plan privately on Nextdoor that members of the family would access with a PIN? Again, to be determined. That is something that they would like to work on, that they would like to consider. And then he shared kind of the following things. They recommend crowdsource rescue, and as a prototype, something like snowcrew.com, which is an East Coast initiative for snow removal. He said these things, the crowdsource rescue has handled far more than Hurricane Harvey, but it developed in that time. But he said they are good prototypes for organizing helpers with those, or connecting helpers with those who are in need. So I'll take a deeper dive into that. And he also promised that I'm going to have a follow-up conversation with him in the next couple of weeks. He got in touch with me last week to say, it's going to be a couple of weeks. He couldn't do it before this meeting. A couple of other things that I just wanted to throw out there that I came across. I did see that our Board of Supervisors has floated an idea, or has agreed on an idea, and I'm quite sure, oh, wait a minute, no, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me backtrack here, sorry. Another idea is the PG&E settlement funds. I know that Susan tonight referred to those funds, but I'm just wondering if some of those funds would be available to us for some of the efforts that we have, whether it's going to be very, kind of a local training, or very specific projects like vegetation removal, or, just general readiness. So could we access those funds? I did come across a federal comprehensive emergency training fund offered by FEMA. And how I came across this is there was a MAC, or maybe there is still a MAC, that operates with funds from this source, from this FEMA source. I thought that was really interesting, that they fund the entire MAC, a grant from FEMA. And then this is the one that I was referring to. That at a recent Board of Supervisor meeting, there was a suggestion that the Director of Human Services would be collaborating with PG&E to provide support for the vulnerable population. And that's something that I brought up in the last meeting, that I knew that PG&E was doing that. So I was just kind of curious about well, if the county is doing it, is it just a matter of the county sharing that information with us? So that is something that I think we could look into. So that's it for me for emergency. And then I do have some little slides on the plaza plan, unless you've got questions on the next door collaboration.
I thought I saw a hand raised in public comment, and it's since disappeared. So it's back up.
It's back, yeah.
Okay. So would you like, I'm sure that it has to do with the emergency because that's all we've talked about. So let's wait 1 second, Ellen, we'll hear the public comment because it probably has to do with the emergency, and then we'll come back to the plaza.
Want me to stop sharing?
No, I don't think you need to stop sharing.
Okay.
I think we can just hear the comment.
Okay.
Okay, Alondra, please state your name for the record and make a comment. And for those members of the public who wish to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature on your device. We will allow you to make your comment on our end. A los miembros de la comunidad que quieran hacer un comentario en este momento, por favor utilicen la aplicación de levantar mano en su pantalla y se les otorgará el permiso. Go ahead, Alondra.
And I just wanted to make a comment about the survey. I think it's a great idea, but I do believe that there should still be an option to
Alondra, we're having issues with your audio. Can we try again? You might be on a mobile and maybe need to reposition.
Alondra, we can't hear you.
Can you guys hear me now?
Oh, now we can, yay.
Awesome, okay. Sorry about that. Thank you to the MAC for having this meeting. It's been great. I wanted to make a comment about the survey, and I love the idea of the survey, but I do believe that there should be an option to print and mail the survey or have some copies be distributed along the Springs, because there are many people in the Springs who don't have access to internet or technology, especially the older folks. So I just wanted to give out that suggestion.
Thank you, Alondra.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
And I don't see any more raised hands.
All righty then. Let's continue with the plaza.
All right. So, obviously this is really very preliminary, and I'm personally very sad Ryan is going away. But where we stand right at the moment is starting really with understanding what are the available funds. Calling the CDC, I don't know why I had DCD here, but anyway, contacting the CDC or the oversight board who administer the original bond that is the underpinning to the plaza funding. And just to clarify, this oversight board is the taxing entities within Sonoma County that approved that we should, as a community, be able to move forward with the project. And at that time, just to clarify, the project was only half done for our sidewalks. So what was being approved was sidewalks, a plaza, the parking, and a couple of other smaller things. And what is really not, and therefore, when it was approved, that money, sits in a trust. And what I wanted to clarify is that trust, as far as I understand it, would be accruing in value. Yes, they're paying back the original bond on its time frame, but they were able to financed the bond at the time, and I believe that our tax monies are still going to pay back that bond. And because home values have increased, potentially there, it's my understanding there potentially is a bigger lump sum. But anyway, so that's one thing. What are the available funds? And the other thing is, what are the permissible uses of the funds as understood by the Oversight Board? Will it include additional parking? Would it include a bigger footprint? The other thing that kind of came up was that in a recent Board of Supervisor meeting, there was a master services agreement that was proposed, and I don't know if it's been approved yet, but the master services agreement is for a much more efficient way of going about project development and project completion. So my question here, or our question is, would it cover our project? This master services agreement includes architects for design services, and it includes, help me with this, Ryan, who is our local architect?
Ross Drulis and Kusenberg.
Exactly, and they were part of the Plaza Development Committee way back in the day.
Yes, I think they even submitted an actual plan for it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they absolutely did, and they presented it at the SCA meeting. Anyway, this is under the General Services Department, and there was a contact listed, Anthony Holland, and we were suggesting that maybe he could attend a Zoom meeting either with the subcommittee or with the MAC to explain the process of the Master Services Agreement and whether this project would fall under that. The other thing, the next step would also be meet with the Sonoma County Attorney in December or January. That was suggested by Susan. Outline the plaza goals, particularly as it was defined in the spring specific plan. We have a new PRMD planner on that plan, Doug Bush. And the idea would be to reach out to Doug in order to get the plan. I tried to pull up the plan on the website today, and it would not download. There are some materials on the website still, but I wasn't able to access it. The next step after that is the question of, can the footprint of the plaza be expanded? In the spring specific plan, it was expanded. It included the parking lot across the street from the Sonoma Mission Inn. So, the question there is, is that a possibility? What is the process if it can be expanded, and what would be the cost, potentially relocating adjacent businesses, et cetera? Then review the plaza goals with the MAC. Do we need community input at that point? Then sending out the request for proposal, or potentially using the companies that are in agreement with the master service agreement. We also talked about, potentially we would be able to be eligible for grants like the Our Town grant. The deadline for that is July of 2021. There's a whole lot of requirements to get these grants. We would have to meet those requirements. We would have to have a partner, a fiscal partner. I don't know if that's the county or if that would actually be someone else. And then the MAC, in my estimation, would evaluate the proposals. There are other MACs that actually are serving that purpose, that if there is a project, an RFP goes out, that the MAC itself, is doing the evaluations. At that point, community feedback, and then recommended design to the county. I'm assuming that there would be more than one design that would be available for us to review. And then depending on the cost for the preferred design, recommend other funding sources. The other thing is using the county lighting district to match the lighting that's already in the corridor. It's pretty important that this be cohesive with what we currently have. And then potentially, I don't know if a landscape design would be part of a plan, but you know, would that require a separate RFP? And if so, you know, that would be something else that we would handle. And, you know, eventually it would be going out to a contractor, and then the county and the MAC evaluate and awards it and handles the funding. And then just these other considerations for us would be, well, other funding sources. And, you know, Susan's not here to talk about this, but is it possible to establish a community revitalization and investment authority here in the Springs? This is a you know, state bill that was passed in 2014 to essentially pick up where redevelopment left off. It's got a lot of the exact same features to it. You know, could we, you know, have that in the Springs again, where there's a set aside of our property tax money that actually gets reinvested into our community. Federal community development block grants, and I'm throwing this on here not just for the plaza, but guess what? Other MACs have been supported by federal community development block grants. Another idea is creating a community service area or a community service district, which is an improvement district. And MACs are supported by these instruments. We should know about them. We should know if they apply to us. And the last one is a new financial instrument that came out probably around 2015. Yes, it was 2015. It's called an Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District. And I saw that Santa Rosa, the Roseland area in Santa Rosa, is has an EIFD for development. So again, these are things that over the time of this project, we should have an understanding of and be able to consider for our area. Because I have to say, as I've said before, the reason we got sidewalks at all was when Lisa Willett stood up in a meeting to say that the community was in a position where it had to earn its way to sidewalks. And a media company, Channel 7, was there at this community meeting, hosting the community meeting. And when Lisa talked about that, you know, the reality was you actually need some of these other financial instruments to have a means that you actually do the investment and pay it back over time. And that's how we got sidewalks to begin with. So I don't think I'm doing it justice, but the point being, these financial instruments allow you to, you know, to have a bond or have a taxing entity. That means that it's a little bit for everybody to contribute, but you get what it is that the community needs up front, and it's paid for over time. So what do you think? That's our plaza plan.
Do Ryan or Ram have anything they want to add?
Sure, I can add. Thank you, Ellen, for creating these slides and coalescing all of this information. So basically our approach is, where's the money? Does it still exist? If it still exists, how do we get access to it and how can we use it? And then at the same time, talking to community players to get the best way to approach this with the county and what we have the ability and I wouldn't say right to do. So we're looking at it in a multi-pronged approach. And then the third approach being what other grants can we leverage to help us get to this goal? So it's kind of a three-pronged approach, if I can just make it more Reader's Digest, if you will. And I mean, there's a lot of information, and I think this whole EFID thing is really fascinating, but I think what fascinates me the most is does the $2 million still exist that was earmarked for this, and how do we get access to that?
Well, I will say, I do have to say, it does exist because the original bond exists. And the original bond has not been, paid back. And Supervisor Gorin did confirm. But I think that the question about the money is, what is the level? What has it grown? Does it now exceed 2 million? Or was that incremental money actually over time paid out to the taxing entities, or was it used to pay down the bond? But you can actually see, if you go to the oversight board materials, and they meet 3 times a year at least, maybe 4 times a year, you can actually see the financial documents. So you can actually see that money that is sitting there. But it is a question of how much is it, and how obviously what is the process for efficiently applying as much as that as we can to the project.
So if we can very briefly, why don't we, would you mind stopping sharing your screen, Ellen?
Thank you, Ellen, for putting that all together.
Yeah.
And sharing all that information.
The slides were the icing on the cake today. When you showed these to me, I was like, yes, slides, that's amazing. I think it might be pertinent to quickly mention who we're going to be speaking with and what kind of help we're hoping to receive from them, from our outreach. If you want to start with that, Ellen, with who you've reached out with, and then I'll follow up with whom I've reached out with.
I reached out to Eric Roser. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly, and now I'm looking at my notes. I believe it's Roser. Eric came and spoke to us in February, I believe, about taxing entities, etc. Or revenues. And Eric was on the Oversight Board website as the only contact. My question to Eric was, should we be speaking with Chris Rogers, who is the one who is actually in charge of the unincorporated area when it comes to the former redevelopment projects. So that is one contact. There are several other individuals who over time have been extremely helpful to our community. Pat Kuda, who is with the Roseland Coalition, Library Coalition. And we're going to be meeting with her literally, for the most part, about fundraising. And also working with county entities. What has Roseland had to do over all of these years to accomplish their goals, and they're very close to having a library. Walter Keyser, we've spoken to. He is with I'm forgetting the full name. It's a planning group. He works with the county. He was the one who originally suggested we form a MAC here in the Springs. But he has a lot of experience, particularly with the town of Windsor, on being able to have development in a very efficient and cost-effective way. And then there are some other individuals who were formerly with the county. we'd like to better understand the business community's interest in this plaza, making sure that, you know, everybody kind of gets their needs met with a plaza. But most particularly, we do have to understand all of the work that's already been done for the Springs Pacific Plan. That's a wealth of information for us on, you know, what people have already stated for years they're looking for. So.
Thank you. I'll be reaching, I have reached out, and I'll be reaching out to Avram and Ellen to schedule time to speak with Mark Bramfitt, who also presented that evening with Eric, to just get he has a body of knowledge that we wanted to pick to get the best way to access this, getting this project off the ground again, as well as Jennifer Gray Thompson, who lives in the Springs, is part of SCA, and was Supervisor Gorin's aide during the redevelopment years and getting the Plaza project started. So we figured she would be a good wealth of knowledge to tap as well.
That's awesome. Avram, was there anything you wanted to add from your perspective?
Yeah, just a few things. First of all, we're so fortunate to have Ellen sort of leading the charge, as she's been leading the charge probably for about 15 or 20 years for the plaza. So we have an incredible start. So thank you, Ellen, because being a research person, she has years, volumes of information that if we didn't have her, we'd be in deep doo-doo. I don't know if you put that in the notes, but in any case, there are a couple things. Obviously, this is a general outline based on what we know, and certainly there'll be some changes along the way. And the biggest thing for me, not only knowing the amount, but what can we use it for? It's kind of, how is that defined? And I'll be very curious and interested in that. So we're sort of in the exploratory stage, have a great foundation. And I'd like to really look at this as several stages, meaning that we know what we have access to right now, which is that parking area, because the county owns that. But in the past, there was a time that it was explored whether we could buy Armando's property there. The person at one time, from my understanding, was willing to sell that to the county at one time. And from my understanding that someone, and I think it may have been you, Ellen, saying that Armando would be open to relocating. And I think that's really critical. I think that really needs to be a part of our plan, and explore ways that potentially that could happen down the way. I see it even being a bigger project, meaning the building next door where the church mouse has been unrented for several years, is figuring out a way how potentially perhaps someone in our community would be interested in buying that building at a price that the owner and that investor would be willing to do, and exploring the possibility of an art and or music cultural center. I mean, we have 15,000 people living in the Springs, and we really have nothing central to identify us. So I hope that we could sort of expand that and look at different stages. We're going to work with what we have and then move out from there. So that's what I would add. It's exciting. Knowing the way things move here in the Springs, it may be another 20 years. I hope it isn't, but at least we've begun the journey, and at least we know there's some money there. So I would suggest maybe, an acronym. It could be the Springs Plaza Association, which is SPA, but we can work on that. But I think there are a lot of different avenues we can go, including we've identified probably at least 20 plus organizations that we can go to explore funding. And I hope one of them, because there is a person that lives on Carragher Road, which I guess wouldn't include the Springs, which is Sandy Weil, and he has the Weil Family Foundation. Those are the people that gave millions of dollars to Sonoma Valley Hospital, or at least $1 million, and also gave, I don't know, 10 million to the Green Music Center. This is pretty close to where he lives. It would be great to explore that. So first of all, kudos to Ellen for really laying the foundation, and hopefully we'll have some great news over the next several meetings.
Can I
And
add something?
also, may I add, you know, Ryan, we were just getting going, buddy, and we're going to miss you because you're also an incredible wealth of knowledge. And but I know you have good reasons, but you're always welcome, because hopefully we can expand our ad hoc committee to include the public, and we would love to have you on our ad hoc committee.
Amen.
Thank you for saying that.
Could I add another couple of things to what Avram had just said? One is that the grants that we were looking at, many of them are including social justice as their goal. You know, it is more than just investment in communities. A lot of it has to do with really creating healthy communities, and we fit the bill on all of their goals. And the financial instruments that I shared with you, those include cultural centers, those include open space, those include parks. I mean, those are absolutely the right financial instruments for the goals that we have in our community. So I don't believe we need to be limited by whatever is in that fund. I believe we have the means. And we are encouraged to use those means like other communities use to create the vision of our community for our citizens now and in the future.
Okay, good work, everybody. Lots of really exciting things happening. So thank you all very, very much. I'm going to move on to the last two items on the agenda. Okay. Are there any community event announcements?
If I may, Chair.
Yes,
Yes.
the flu shot to Alvarado School next Tuesday.
Hold on, Mari.
December 1st.
Hold on, Mari Carmen. What did I miss, Karina?
Actually, I missed when I was providing updates, I forgot to provide the budget update. So before we move on to the next item, if I may, I just need to share my screen real quick. And I apologize. I got so excited with all these Springs projects updates and didn't provide this sooner. So up to date with all invoices included from last month, the available amount for community projects is $6,112.20.
Okay.
And so there we go. I apologize for that.
Thank you. Ray, did you have something?
Is that an annual budget, and we have $6,000 left at the end of the year almost?
Yes, that is for the year that begins July and ends in June.
Yeah, it's not a calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Could I ask a favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Ellen, could you email me the screen docs on the plaza?
Yes, I can.
That'd be great. And what about the survey? Is that something you want in the minutes, or are you still going to be working on it, evolving?
It's not finalized yet.
Okay, so, and also Karina, could you send me your link to your reports? Great, thank you so much. And it's lmdevincent@comcast.net.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mari Carmen, I am sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, it's okay. Just an announcement for the that Health Center will be hosting a flu shot clinic on Tuesday, December 1st from 3 to 5 p.m. at Alvarado School. Sorry, I think we're all tired.
It's drive-through, right? Okay, awesome. Any other event announcements?
If I may, our next charla comunitaria with Supervisor Gorin's team, with Juan Barragan as our special guest, is December 10th. I will post on Facebook, but I just wanted to mention it here as well.
Thank you. Anything else?
Laite?
Yes.
Iris. I wanted to mention this so that we get it set at the MAC so that it can go on to the Facebook page. The Recology is doing Zoom meetings on recycling, which is a subject dear to my heart. I did attend one of them. After the last meeting, 2 days later, I got another notice for one. So I'm just kind of putting it out so that we can get it onto the website and look for it. And we have had people that spoke at the meeting about recycling. So there's a tie in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to share? Karina?
So sorry. Okay, so Thursday, since we're all going to be at home with no more than 3 families or 3 households and no more than 12 family members, there's an opportunity to watch the lighting of the plaza. You can go to sonomatv.org. You can watch it online. You can watch it on local KSBY channel. You can watch it on YouTube as well. I published the link on my Facebook page, so watch it and help light the plaza. And also, as I mentioned earlier on in our meeting, the Artiscape will be putting up some decoration in the Springs. Yes, I'm so happy about that. They will be going up on Monday, and they ask businesses to contribute and join the spirit of the holidays and also decorate. So I'm very happy. So let's all just join the the festivities and perhaps donate some stuff and go put something up. And with that said, thank you and happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thank you, Karina. So that we have one more item, future agenda items. We have an ongoing list that I refer back to just so you know that I don't lose sight. I take notes of everything that you say that you want to hear from. And it is an ongoing list. We still have economic development, permit Sonoma, transportation is still on the list. The projects in the Springs, more information about that, fire prevention, fire safety. So these are some of the things that are still on the list. And then I added a couple more from today's meeting. So is there anything else that you'd like to add to that ongoing list? Ray, I think I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I have one else, and this is from Fred Allerback, and I think it's a good one. He commented on getting a presentation on the regional housing needs allocation, better known as the RHNA, where by Jesus Guzman from Generation Housing. He suggested that he make a presentation on the RHNA. I think it's something that we should all understand how it works. That's how they take the data from everywhere, I guess, and figure out how much housing goes to each jurisdiction. So I think we should understand how we're getting housing allocated to the valley, to the city of Sonoma, and to the county.
Thank you for that, Ray. Mari, did I see your hand up?
One topic that I would like to add at one point is pedestrian safety. As you know, someone was actually killed today on Verano Avenue at 6:22 a.m. when it's still dark. So I do want to advocate for crosswalks that have lighting. And that's one of the reasons, why we were advocating also for the Highway 12 in East Thompson, because that is a crosswalk that is bound to, something to bound to happen soon. But I do, want to acknowledge, the person that was, while walking in the crosswalk was killed this morning. So I don't know how we can integrate that to a topic or bring in,
it probably falls
is it
under
CalTrans or is it the TPS?
it
Or
falls
was
under
it
transportation.
Public Works?
Yeah, and I think it falls under
Or,
the transportation part too, that people still have an interest in as well.
yes. So I hope that we can do something with that crosswalk there between McDonald's and Maxwell.
Anything else? Ellen?
I'd like to have at some point in time a better understanding of these financial instruments, as I pointed out. There's a lot of them, and they're meant to help communities. And I'm not quite sure what department we would be talking to, but yes, I'd like to have a better understanding of these things. Oh, and also I'd like to have a discussion about the revitalization, the replacement. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting what it was, but it's the replacement of the redevelopment. Can we consider that? Sorry.
The Community Revitalization and Investment Authority.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
You should. Oh, you're talking to the city attorney, right? Or the county attorney in your quests. Maybe those are questions for him. Yeah.
Yes. But I'm thinking that it's actually bigger and broader than the plaza. But
Yeah. No, I see your vision there. I love it. Yep.
Maite, if I might add, it would be interesting to have the Latinx health work group update, if that's even a possibility. It could just be part of maybe your updates in the beginning of the meeting, something brief even, that might be helpful.
Yeah, I can give it from a valley level. I just started with that group, and I think Money Kahneman's on it and Karina's on it. We'll see if we can find some county information too. Yeah, thank you. Anything else? So it's a long list, and we'll do our very best to get through all of them, but it's lengthy, and we're trying to prioritize and see who's available, and they're not out, everybody's always, and there's been one urgency or crisis after another. So we are trying to slide them all in as best we can and still maintain our space to have conversations and to move things forward too, and not just constantly be a receptacle for receiving information, but also having a voice. So trying to balance those two things. Okay, so is there anything else from anybody? You guys have been amazing. I just want to say how impressed and how grateful I am for all the work that the Adhocs are doing. You guys are really moving. There has been leaps and bounds of work done in the last few months. So thank you all very, very much. And to Mari, who was saying earlier about the person who passed away on Verano Avenue today, we wanted to close in that person's honor. We don't know who it is, but just to recognize that our streets are, we need some work on our streets. They need to be safer. So we're sorry for the family's loss. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Ryan. Is there a second?
A second.
Avram. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Thank you all very much.
Happy Thanksgiving,
care.
everybody.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Take care, everybody. Be safe.